Hello, everyone. Happy Friday to you. I'm so thankful, so happy that you all have been sticking with me for the past 4 nights. But tonight is Friday. You know, when Friday comes, I know a lot of you guys are probably getting ready to do something. But I know it's still COVID. I know there's still going to be people who are still going to be wanting to jump on and get on this live because even though it's summertime and it's Friday, we're very limited to what we can do. So when you jump into this live, let us know where you're from, where you're watching at, and go ahead and share this live. So in the meantime, I'm actually going to do the same. I'm going to go ahead and share this live so people can know that we are on. Let's see. No, right now it's just me watching me. But let me let my friends know on my personal page that we are on. All right. Again, I want to thank everyone who has decided to start following the page. I want to thank anybody who has gave me any feedback this week. I've been told that the shows this past week have been really encouraging, uplifting. I'm glad to know what started out as a vision of mine has been beneficial to those who have been watching. So I'm excited to know that the work is not going in vain. People who are sacrificing their evenings to jump on this for free. I mean, we've had concerts here on Monday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night, and it has been awesome to get information that you usually would have to pay to get. But it's great to know that these people see a need, see a reason to have their voice put into this conversation. So I'm so glad about that. So I'm just going to wait just a few more minutes before I bring in my guest here. Again, if you want to come in, if you don't mind sharing this live, letting people know that we are live, and here shortly we'll have the conversation. I really don't want you to join in the midst of the beginning of the conversation and figure out what exactly we're talking about tonight. So if you don't mind, why don't you just jump on in right now and stay in to the very end. All right, I see some people just jumped on in. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know where are you watching from. Let us know. Is it just going to be all Ohio? I know Carlos is all over the place in the state of Ohio, but who knows? He might got some people outside of the state that may be watching. I know yesterday I had my friend and sister from Puerto Rico watching. I've had my sister from Toronto watching. Let us know where you're watching. I see you all coming on in. I see you. Let us know where are you watching from. And don't leave us. Don't leave us. Let us know where you're watching from. All right. So I'm not going to hold the time any longer. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my special guest for Friday night, Carlos Christian. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Kiki? How you feeling? I'm doing pretty good.
Yes. You trying to share? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I am. I'm trying to do it on my phone because I'm looking at my computer. I couldn't do it on my computer.
No worries, so. No worries, no worries. Do you? Right. You got it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I got it. So what's going on with you? How you feeling?
I'm excited, man. Listen, like I just told the people, I know it's Friday night, and I know it may be hard to get some people to watch on, but what I've learned, oh look, Puerto Rico still representing. What I've learned is it's not about the numbers, but it's about the impact. It's great to have a lot of people watching you, but if it's not impactful to them, then like what are we doing it for? So,
right.
As much as I want both, I'd rather take the impact over the numbers. So I'm good though. It's Friday night. I got you, sir. I got
no
you.
Doubt. No doubt. No doubt. No
so
doubt.
Tell the people, not your story yet, but tell them who is Carlos Christian without telling your story.
Right.
Let us know who you are. Tell us that right there.
Well, first of all, I'm a father of three children. Well, I got a 23-year-old, I got an 11-year-old, I got a 4-year-old baby girl. So 2 boys and 1 girl, man. So yeah, that's who I am, and just a leader of the movement. What I tell people is that I fight to feed. You know, that's what you see with the shirt right here. I believe if you fight to feed, you'll never go hungry. And that's what it's all about. And people be like, man, well, what's the fight? I mean, you gotta fight the systems, man, to be able to feed the individuals. And then you gotta actually fight the individuals, because a lot of times, Kiki, man, people don't even know that they need to be fed. And you gotta let them know, brother, you missing some nutrients, right?
Yeah.
You need to be fed. So it's a fight. So that's what I'm about, is fighting to feed versus fighting to eat. Because if you fight to eat, man, you're going to starve. And that's what I believe. Just eventually you'll starve, you know. So,
You know, there's a quote about, I had to look it up. It's like, if you teach a man to
fish, you feed him for it. If you give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime.
Yeah. I like that quote, though. I think it's true.
Right. Absolutely. No doubt.
Very practical.
That teaching, it takes a little bit. Hey, Kiki, that teaching takes a little bit more sacrifice. You know, It takes a little more out of you. It's easier to just place, coins in somebody's bucket when you see them out there begging for change. But it's more difficult to teach them how to never have to be out there on the corner begging for change. That takes a little bit more out of you, right? But that's how you'll get the results. That's different from the person who just places something in the bucket and walks on, right? You really ain't impacting their life in that way, because they'll be right back again, man, begging for change tomorrow, right? The next person, right? So, I mean, it's just that concept, So, yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it. Well, listen, I want to. I see people keep jumping in and out, and that's fine. That's the life of social media. You know, people jump in your show and then they jump out the show. But while you jumping in, my friends, my people, why not share this video? Again, we don't want you to wait to the last minute of the show and miss the question, miss an answer. And definitely, I don't want you to miss Carlos telling the story, which is coming up here very shortly. But for those who are wondering, like, what is tonight's topic? You've not read into my post. You just happen to be jumping in tonight. We're talking about imprisonment as well as rehabilitation. Listen, I told Carlos this on Wednesday night, how I asked people who know him, and they were like, "You got Carlos Christian?" Like, they didn't just say Carlos, they like, "For real?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I got me a celebrity." You know what I'm saying? That's what's up. Like, seriously, I'm honored to be like, to say, "Yeah, I got you," but not to say I got you, but also to be. I'm very thankful for your yes, for you saying yes to being on this live, and for you wanting to share in your story, and also not your story, but yet what you're doing. But we don't get to that part, what you're doing. But
Right.
I just want to dive deep. I hope you don't mind telling us, the nitty gritty of your story.
Right.
And then we'll dive into questions. But tell us, Carlos.
But hold on. Right there, Kiki. With that being said, though, I just want to make it known, like, you kept on beating that drum, man. You kept on knocking at that door until that door was answered, too, because you was asking me for the bio. You was asking me, well, I need to know a yes or whatever. And I just, man, I was moving. You just didn't go away, right?
No.
You was like persistent. I kid you not. You was persistent, man. Like, you was like, man, hey, well, it's Friday. You said you was gonna let me know by Friday. What's going on, brother?
I did. Well, you know what? Here's the thing, Carlos. Okay, I said this the last 2 nights about how Mariah was on Wednesday and Courtney was on yesterday. And I said this all started off with a vision come from June, okay?
Right.
And so June, all I had in mind was police brutality and racism. That's it, right? And then I was like, no, we talking about police brutality and racism, but there's a part of jail, right? Prison. We got to talk about it, right? And I feel like I was looking, no offense. I was like, I kept saying, like, God, can you give me somebody who used to be in prison that can be open and transparent about their story? And I'm just like, can't find nobody. And I'm like, I seen you pop up one day, and I'm like, bingo, I'm getting him. Because as we'll talk about later, it's not where you were that we want to beat up so much about, but it's what you're doing right now, the present time. Right. So, you were ideally the best candidate to bring on to talk about this, because it's not like, oh yeah, you served, okay, thank you for getting out. proud of you being a great father.
Right.
But now,
Right.
well, now what are you doing with your life? And so, I know people are itching. If people don't know you, that's great. I hope people don't know you that's watching this. Some people I do want to know you. Obviously, they know where you came from and where you at now. But let's stop talking about the past. Let's stop talking about the present for just a minute. Carlos, what did you do? How did you? How are you the subject matter of this? How did you land yourself in prison, sir? You know, some ladies,
Right.
I'm gonna be honest, they may look at you like, he's a nice, handsome man. What he doing in prison? What this pretty boy? No, stop. So really, listen, I'm gonna be real. It's Friday night, so you'll get all of us. Y'all get all of me. No filter. But Carlos, honestly, if you can tell us what happened, what landed you behind those ugly bars.
Right. So yeah. So 13 years old. I started selling dope when I was 13 years old. I just believed that that was the way for me to be able to make it to my next level. You know. So I was just committed to everything that the streets had to offer. I was really serious about that life, and I said, man, I'm about to make it if I just commit myself to it. Just like you see a lot of individuals right now who teenagers, they're young and they get exposed to that type of lifestyle. They commit to that lifestyle. Same situation here, same story, so I just really just was committed to it. And I lasted for 6 years. And that was with a lot of like secret indictments was coming and things like that. People was getting warrants. People were getting locked up for selling drugs and stuff like that. But I never was on the roster. So I was getting through because I felt like that I was on top of my game, right? That's what I felt like. The arrogance of an individual in the streets, just to believe that, man, you one step ahead, you 10 steps ahead of everybody else. It's crazy how we think when we in the streets. I mean, if they can find like Osama bin Laden in the mountains somewhere, I'm sure they can know who's selling dope in the streets. It's just about a matter of time when they come and get you, but I really thought that I was on top of my game. I crossed my T's and I dotted my I's. So I was really able to get some things done as far as the streets is concerned and just be able to really do, some things. And I was thinking like, man, okay, I'm good. At 19 years old, that's when I caught my first case, right? I was pulled over for driving left of center. I was actually in Oberlin, Ohio, and I was driving left of center and it wasn't because I was drunk or high or anything like that, but I was driving because I was trying to avoid the potholes, right? I had like the big rims on my car. It was a Cutlass Supreme 2-door. And
you telling us your age, sir? You telling us your age, man?
Right. So I had the 2-door. I had the big rims on there, and I was trying to dodge the potholes. And trying to dodge the potholes, the police was behind me. Boom, they pulled me over, left of center. And when they pulled me over, it's just like they had a drop on me, Kiki. They went straight into my trunk, right? And as soon as they went into my trunk, right, they was able to see what I had in there. So I had a 410 sawed-off shotgun. I had a 9mm. It was brand new, fresh out the box. I got it from the Jamaicans, man, back then. Serial number scratched off and everything, which it could have been a federal offense. So then that could have been heavy duty. And then they also found individually bags of crack. So I used to have like my sacks in the back that I used to get, and I used to keep a sack on me that I would have where I could make my sales, and then I would be able to re-up in my trunk or in my stash spot or whatever may be the case. So they was able to find that. They found that. I ended up catching my first case, right? That was the first time I was able, I caught my case. This was in March 2019. I mean, not 2019, but March 1997. And that's when I had caught, possession of drugs, drug trafficking, and possession of firearms, and possession of a deadly ordinance. So I caught them cases, and I said, okay, cool. I'm still confident that I was going to be able to get out of it. I ended up bonded out. I bonded out of the county jail, and I was back at it. Kiki, I was back at it, man. And I had got a lawyer. I had got Mike Duff back then. Michael Duff in Lorain County. He was pretty good. as far as the lawyers is concerned. So I made sure I retained Michael Duff. So I was kind of confident that I was going to be able to overcome it. Just the craziness in the mind. I was thinking like, man, hey, I'm about to get probation or they going to just throw the stuff out. That's what I was thinking. So when I came home, I turned it up another notch, right? I'm like, man, I got to really turn it up another notch because it ain't no time to be playing. I had found out that I had a son on the way. So my son was on the way. You know, that was my first son, and he was due to be born in May. So I'm like, oh man, I got to turn it up another notch. And I always had a desire to be a father because I was raised by my father, right? Okay. My father, he was there to raise me and my brother. My mother, she got caught up back in the 80s, and because of what was going on back then with the stuff, you know, she wasn't able to be there, and she ended up getting incarcerated too as well, you know, to see. So she had to go and do some time, so she wasn't able to be there. But although right now she's in a better place, you know what I'm saying?
Good. That's
just
good.
A positive individual. She interacts with the kids, with her grandkids and stuff like that, making sure that she remembers their birthdays and things like that. So I couldn't complain. And plus I talk to her too as well. So she makes sure that she touches base with me on a regular basis, me and my brother. So it was good. So it's good now with my mom, but growing up, she wasn't able to be there. So yeah, but I had ended up bonding out and I said, man, you know what? I want to be a father. Once I realized that I was a father, it's like, man, I got to be a dad, man. Like, just like my dad was a dad, he was there. You know, I got to be that type of dad too as well. You know, right. So I was proud to be a father. So I turned it up another notch. So I thought that, you know, if I sold a little bit more drugs, I was going to be able to get the Cosbys. I'm like, man,
I want you to say turn up because I know some people are like, what does he mean turn up? And I'm like, he is not talking about doing the right stuff. He is talking about going hard. So tell the story. Come on, people.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so I figured that, man, I just got to sell a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? If I sell a little bit more, I'll be able to get to Cosby's, and it'll be like that. That's how my household would be. I was really shooting for the Huxtables. I say, man, I'll be able to get to Huxtables. I just got to stay committed. I got to really get serious about my grind. You know, I got caught slipping with the little pull me over thing, but I'm telling you, man, by the time I'm 25, I'll be able to elevate and graduate about this thing. This is what I'm thinking when I was 19 years old. Like, I'll be able to elevate about this thing because I was thinking that I was going to be able to probably get like a record company because I was rapping and doing that, and everybody around me was rapping, you know, and I'm like, man, I'm going to get a record company, you know, and I'm going to put this drug money into the record company. I'm going to do my thing, right? I really thought that, and I believed that. You couldn't have told me anything different, right? So I was really committed to really, man, elevating out of the street game. I didn't believe that I was going to do it all of my life. I said that, man, I got to get in and I got to get out, but I can't be playing. So I was dead serious about it. So I took it very seriously. So while I was out on bond, Kiki, I'm sitting there and I had to have other people drive my car, right? And the reason I had to have other people drive my car is because I didn't have no license. So then they took the Cutlass from me because they found all of the stuff in there and it was under investigation or whatever may be the case. But I still had 2 more cars. I had my Caprice, right? And I still got my Caprice and I put the rims on the Caprice and I had another Cutlass, right? So I'm like, man, I'm going to still get it done. And I still need to get around from point A to point B to point C. So I'm like, okay, cool. So what I started to do, I started to be in the hood and I'm looking for people with licenses. I'm like, man, you got a license? Brother, come on, let's ride. Let's go ahead and drive. I remember my one guy, Melly Mel, man, I ended up getting his little brother. I'm like, man, hey, man, and he seen his little brother driving my car. He was like, man, get up out this car, man. You ain't about to be rolling with Los. Like, Los got all this stuff going on. He got guns and everything else on him. He got dope, drugs. Ain't no way you about to get involved into this lifestyle. But I didn't really catch it back then. I was just like, man, it ain't nothing wrong with it. I didn't think it was anything wrong with my lifestyle. It was okay. Why? Because at the end of the day, man, like, people gonna get high. This is what I told myself. I mean, people gonna get high. So, I mean, hey, I'm just falling in.
Right.
You know, I'm just falling in line. I'm providing a service. I wasn't robbing nobody. That's what I felt like. I said, man, I'm a drug dealer with integrity, Kiki. That's how I felt. I'm like, man, I'm doing this stuff with some integrity, man.
You're
I'm
not
not
the only one who thinks that. You're not.
right.
Hold on. Let me pause for a minute. For anybody who is watching, because I don't want you to stop there yet, but for anyone who is just joining in, he's in just probably like the beginning, middle part of the story. I know we all know a young person who is not behind bars just yet. Maybe they are, maybe they were in bars. They need to tune in. I need you, if you can't get them on right now, I need you to make sure you watch them later. Because two things you've said yet this far, and Kiana's chimed in, is that what you thought that you weren't gonna be in this forever. One of my favorite little brothers right now says the exact same thing. That he's not going to be in this forever. And he's been doing this for some years. And the second thing you just said is that you had integrity while you're doing it. You know how many people I know who are drug dealers who said, I'm not doing it. Like you said, it's a service to provide, right? You're not
right.
You got goals. You're just trying to do this as a means to get to point A to point B to point C. But there are people who say that and they get stuck. And so I just want somebody who may be watching this to literally, if you can't get your young person, your cousin, whoever it is, because we all know somebody. Truth be told, we all know someone
absolutely
who was in your predicament. So I really want somebody to be encouraged that there's still hope, because Carlos is talking to us in his own home, not behind bars. He's talking through a screen. But go ahead, Carlos. Finish. I don't want to. I just had to make sure that people understand that there's still time for them to get somebody to watch this.
Right.
Yeah.
So so like I just had integrity about my movements, man. I wasn't about to be, telling on people. I wasn't going to be stealing from people and things. I wasn't robbing people. Well, I did. I was into and again, I was in another space on that too, because I was in a space to where I used to, man, the people that I felt like shouldn't be in the game, I just used to take their stuff. Like, man, you shouldn't even be in this game. And I used to take their stuff though. But I'm talking about as far as like just the regular people, I just felt like that I was doing it with integrity. I abided by the rules that were laid there. I really did believe it, right? So I was a person with integrity. So, man, me just being committed to it and things like that, Kiki, what had happened is that I had got the people to drive my car, and then I had got my one brother who had a license to drive. Now, I knew what he was into, right? Which was he was a pickup kid. That's what he done. That's what he do, right? He looks for ways to capitalize on brothers slipping. Like if you would see videos of back in the day, you would see the brother just sitting back like looking, like who's slipping, right? And get you, right? That's how he was. But again, the arrogance, Kiki, I said, man, he know me, right? He ain't about to rock me like that, right? Like how I felt. I'm like, man, he know me. He ain't about to rock me like that. But sure enough, like I had him driving my car and he really didn't have like the money like that. That's why he was always looking for ways to, get people, because his hustle wasn't on like that. But he was just looking for ways to get people in that way. So I remember that, man, we out at a barbecue in Lorraine, and I remember that it was crazy because we shadow boxing, me and my other brother Shaka and DeMarcus, we shadow boxing, just doing our thing or whatever. And I ended up dropping my dope. I didn't know that I dropped my dope until somebody pulled up trying to cop, and they trying to buy. And when they trying to cop, I'm like, hold up, let me go ahead and take care of this business. And when I went to go try to take care of my business, I always kept my drugs inside of my drawers, right? So I used to keep them inside of my drawers. So when I went to go look, it was gone. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. What's going on? I'm like, man, I must have. So I'm starting to look for it. It was about like $1,000 worth of rocks. I'm like, man, where's right? And it was some jinky dope too. I wanted to get rid of it. It was just jinky all together. It was just crazy. I got it, but I'm like, man, I'm trying to get rid of this stuff for real, right? So this was the last string, right? Is I ended up dropping it while I'm shadow boxing. So now, Kiki, remember my guy, he driving that I got with the license, and then my brothers, Shock and DeMarcus, they rolling with us. So we all rolling in my car. So we at the barbecue, now we are looking for the dope. I'm like, man, where it's at? It got to be in the grass somewhere. So we looking, and everybody looking, right? And I see my one guy who was driving, who be on that stuff. He looking too. So we all looking, right? And I'm like, man, this stuff crazy. I'm like, man, that's cool, man. Just take me back to the spot, man. I'll go ahead and get, another sack. Cause I had more. So it's like, man, I'll just go get some more.
Right.
That's crazy. I done just lost $1,000 sack. So I'm like, man, that's cool, man. But in my heart, I was looking at the fella like, man, I think this brother done took my dang on dope, man. I'm like, man, I bet you he found it and picked it up. If he sees it, he's not going to say, Los, here go your drug. Like, he gonna go ahead and just pocket it.
That's unheard of. That is so unheard of.
Right. But that's the thing, Kiki, that's what I used to do. So brothers used to be sitting up there looking for their stuff, and I would see it, and I'd be like, bro, you tripping, man. Here go your stuff, man. I literally
Look at that integrity. Look at that integrity.
The integrity. Because it's like, man, I'm going to make what I'm going to make anyway. I don't need to like steal and take from you, brother, because I'm going to make what I'm going to make. I'd rather get it that way than to be getting it in a way where I'm stealing and I'm robbing, and then I'm all feeling all crazy when I'm around you because I'm thinking that you might know that I stole. I don't want to live like that. That's how I was when I was coming up in the game. So that's what I expected. I expected that out of other people as well, to like live by those same type of codes. This is the trick. This is the trickery in the streets, is that you believe that it's some codes that people is going to live by, but it ain't. At the end of the day, man, the stuff is mayhem, and people be like, man, I'm holding it. Man, that stuff don't be what it is. So I'm like, man, okay. So when I just chalked it up, I'm thinking it, but I didn't want to accuse him of it, but I'm still thinking it, right? So some time goes past, and he ended up telling it to somebody who he didn't think was going to tell it to me, right?
Okay.
Told him like, man, you know what? Man, I had to get Los, man. I had to get him, And I'm like, man, dang. So then that's what they told me. They came back and told me, like, such and such had got your stuff, man. And because I used to let him like use my car, he was driving. So after my son was born in May, I would have him drop me off to my child's mother's house and let him just go ahead and use the car and tell him to come pick me up, in the morning so I can get back to doing what I was doing, right? I let him use the car. I was like, man, go ahead and drive, brother. Just pick me up in the morning, right? But what had happened is that he had ended up stealing. He had ended up picking it up, and he was selling my stuff out of my car, And I'm like, man, so then I had found that out. You know what I'm saying? So it had been times where he had done that and people knew he had done it. And I'm like, man, I'm not about to just rock him to where, we fight and I beat him up or whatever, or do that. I'm not about to do that because I just felt like, man, I want something more than just like a regular, just a beat up. I want something more, right? So then that's when I started to move in on his life, right? So I was like, man, I'm gonna move in on this brother's life, because I just felt like he wasn't who he needed to be and he didn't really belong on the earth. It's crazy how the mind works. I believe that he didn't really deserve to be on the earth, that he was a liability to the earth. So I felt like that I was going to do the good work and do this brother away. I'm like, man, okay, but when I do this brother away, I'm not about to get caught for it, right? I'm not about to be doing no 25 years with an L. I'm not doing that, right? I'm going to do the brother away, and then I'm gonna show up to the funeral like everything was like regular. That was my mindset, and right.
Oh, I love the transparency.
So my brothers, they knew what the play was. I'm telling them like, man, I'm like, it's a done deal. Brother's done. As soon as I got to the word, like my three brothers, my blood brother, and then my step brother, and then my young dude who, was with me through everything. I call him my brother too. Like they all knew the play. And I told him, I said, man, I'm just going to wait until the right time. So I just waited. I was just looking for the right time. Now, all throughout the time, I was on a mission to get back all of the money that he was making from my drugs. And the way that I was doing that is I was just cheating him on dice and stuff. So we were shooting dice in this house and I would just like cheating. I would say, man, you know what? I said caught dice, or I caught the dice, or man, hey, that's tilt dice. I would just make up anything until I won and I had gotten all of the money back. So until I had moved in on his life, I said that I was going to get my money back too. So then that was the mindset, right? So once I found that opportunity, Kiki, I seen him walking, and it was me and my two brothers with me. I seen him walking, and I said, man, come on, let's holler. Let me holler at you. You know, he didn't know. So, and ain't nobody know. So he just thinking it's just cool. It's just Lowe's. He didn't know that I knew that he had stole my dope. So I said, man, you know what? I said, man, hey, get in the car, man. We got some beef with some brothers on the other side, man. We need to get to it, man. Let's rock and roll. And he's like, all right, come on, you know. And we started to drive, and at that time I had yeah, I'm not gonna say what because I don't want to incriminate people
Right.
on that right there. But I had a pistol, right? But
Right.
long story short, it was given to me because remember my pistols was taken when they pulled me over, right? And my people said, man, Los, here go a pistol for you right here to go ahead and handle your business that you gonna handle. And I'm like, cool. So we driving, and I'm like, we about to go ahead and handle this business, just playing it. And I'm just trying to figure out a place that I can get this done where there ain't no witnesses or nobody around to be able to see what's going down. So I don't get caught. Again, I'm trying to avoid the 25 with an L, like necessary. Like I was saying, man, I'm gonna win regardless. And that was the mindset. So we driving on the back roads, and he started to say, man, Los, man, I don't want to do this, man. Like, just take me to the house, man. And when he says this is when I'm driving by now too. I had got my license. I got a temporary license back or whatever, where I got driving privileges. So I was driving one of my other cars at that time, and it's a 2-door Caprice, and we driving, right? And he like, man, let me out, man. You know I got a son. His son used to call me uncle, so his son we was close, you know. So his mom used to like was open to me and things like that. So at the end of the day, man, I had love for this brother regardless, man. Even though he was doing some of the things that he was doing, he was still from the hood. We knew each other since the sandbox. So he was from the hood. So, but I was in a position now where I felt like that I had to do what I had to do. I felt like I was boxed in because I couldn't allow this to happen and then say that I'm serious about selling drugs. Because at the end of the day, if he knows my mission and he still like take from me, knowing my mission, knowing what I'm going through, it just made the anger raise to an all-time high, to where the anger turned into hate. So I was in a hateful place to where I'm like, man, I'm ready to do this brother in. So I'm driving, and when the brother say he want to get out, I'm like, brother, what you mean you want to get out? I said, okay, cool. So now I ain't got to struggle. Remember, this pistol was given to me. So the issue with the pistol that was given to me, it was only 2 bullets in the pistol. But I'm like, man, that's crazy, right? So I'm like, man, I got to be accurate. It can't be no, no long distance type of stuff because I got 2 shots. So I got to make these 2 shots count. This is how I'm moving in my head, right? And I'm like, man, I got to make these 2 shots count. So when he get to saying that he want to get out, I'm like, cool, brother, I let you out. And then we ended up driving, and we drive all the way to where it's dark. It's no lights, it's no houses, it's nothing. It's just like in the middle of nowhere. It's just like you just see grass, green, trees and things like that. And I'm like, good, perfect place. I'm like, you want to get out, brother, then get out right here, right? Now, all the way up until then, I kid you not, Kiki, my heart is pounding. And I'm sitting up there like, man, dang, I don't really want to do this stuff, man. But I felt like I had no choice, right? I just felt like I had to continue to uphold an image of what I thought that I should be, what people said that I should be, this person that I thought that I should be. And I just felt like I had to uphold that image, just being young and not secure and confident in who I am and what I stand for. Not really having not really having a foundation of standing on some real stuff. And that's what put me in a position to say, I'm gonna move, even though I feel like that this is not real. See, I felt like that it wasn't real to move in on my brother's life and for some money, right? At the end of the day, for some money. So then that's what gave me that uneasiness, right? So my heart is beating. And when he's like, man, I'm getting out, I'm walking. I'm like, well, walk in, brother. My heart beating. But now I'm just like committed. I had the pistol to the side of my hip. So I get out the vehicle because it's a 2-door and he's in the back seat. I get out the vehicle and I let him go ahead and get out. I pull up the seat, let him get out. And when I let him get out, I had the pistol to the side of my hip. Boom. I'm committed now. Now I black out. It's like, man, now it's just go time. It's no more negotiating now. Now I said the pistol out. I can't do nothing else. I can't turn back now. I'm committed. Right? I'm committed. I put it to the back of his head because remember, I had 2 shells. I put it to the back of his head. Boom. As soon as he get out like this. And then I put it to the back of his head. And then I just was like, boom. I just squoze the trigger, right? And boom. And when I squoze it, he was like, man, Lowe shot me. The brother take off running. I'm like, man, how the heck he take off running from a headshot? This was point blank range to where, man, the pistol was touching the back of his head. Like, how did he take off running? This is crazy, right? And so I pull up behind him with that second shell and pull the trigger again towards his back, right? And the brother was like, Lowe shot me again, right? And the brother just continued to run. I'm out of shells. I get into the car. Other brothers got into the car. We got into the car. We drove off. And I was just thinking in my mind, like, man, this brother ain't got nowhere to go. Like, he gonna bleed out. Like, this brother, he just running off adrenaline right now. You know, so I drove off and got back to the house. And I can remember that when I was laying in the bed, it was like a Menace to Society scene.
Right, that's what I'm thinking too.
Up there laying in the bed, and he was like, man, I just felt like I can do it because it was just because I've never been. I mean, I done been in situations where I had my pistol and I done pulled out and I done been shooting. I've been trying to shoot and the pistol was jammed, right? But I was committed to getting it done, but it didn't happen. So I was in that space. But this was the time where I finally was like, man, this brother done. But it was just something that was still feeling funny inside of me. I couldn't sleep. I remember I went to the house. My grandmother, she was staying in the metropolitan housing at that time. And I would go there I take off my clothes and stuff like that. I put them in the washer. You know, I sprayed off the car and things like that. Man, I peed on my hands, Kiki, because I said that, man, I want to get that gunpowder off.
Residue, yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I didn't have no gun residue on me. So this is how I'm moving. This is how I'm trying to get my mission accomplished, right? So I'm just laying there. Next thing I know, man, the police was at the door, like full mode, like all the way. Like ATF, they was there, like in a serious way, like this brother's dangerous, right? And they was knocking on my door and I come to the door in my boxers and I'm like, man, what's going on, man? Like, so I just continued to play the role. They was like, man, you got a guy out here, man. He said you shot him. And I'm like, what the heck you talking about? They was like, man, yeah, he hanging on to a thread. And we putting it on you, you know. So then they arrested me. And when they tell me that I'm in the backseat of the car, I continue to play it out. I'm like, man, what you mean? Man, I can't believe somebody, man. I can't wait until I get up out of here, man. I'm going to find out who did, man. This is crazy, man. Why would I do that, man? So I'm just playing it all the way out. I think I even started to cry for him too. I'm like, man, this is crazy, man. The
whole production.
I'm like, man, this is my guy. Like, man, this is my guy. So this is how I was playing my hand. And when I had ended up getting to the station, I'm like, man, what the heck? It was in the middle of nowhere. Where what had happened, Kiki, is that he ran through the woods and stuff and he found a dang on log cabin or something in the back where somebody was staying. And he ended up, man, knocking on the door, passed out. Lowe shot me. And that's the only thing they heard. Lowe shot me, Carlos shot me, and they life flighted him to the hospital in Cleveland. Game time. So then the information that the people who opened the door for him had was Lowe shot me. And I was like, man, how the heck did he find that place in the middle of nowhere? Like, I was for sure it was no place for him to go. I'm like, man, this brother ain't got no place to go. There's no way he can make it back to the city. Like, this brother's a done deal, right? But he ended up finding that place. Right. one log cabin for him specifically, for him to get there. This brother was in survival mode. This brother took off his shirt. He had on a white tee. He took off his shirt and everything. Like, this brother's hunting me, right? He took off his shirt to survive. That brother fought for his life. He was able to keep it. Dead serious. He ended up, man, getting out of the hospital. He get out of the hospital and he started to heal. One of the things that was going on with him is that his taste buds was burnt because of the flame from the pistol. It burnt his taste buds, Kiki. He couldn't taste for like 6 months or something like that. But now that I started to hear of people who was there during that time, man, it was some complications going on. Like, that brother was really fighting for his life, because the story that I had got is that he just recovered quick and it was cool. No, that brother was fighting for his life.
Like, wow.
And he was able to keep his life, man. So I ended up copping out now to the 10 years. So I copped out to attempted murder, and then they combined both of my cases. They ran my cases concurrently, right? So then I was able to cop out to all of it. So I just copped out to, so then they gave me attempted murder since he had survived. They didn't give me felonious assault, right? They was like, you was trying to do this brother in. You getting attempted murder. So I had got the attempted murder and they combined the other one. So I ended up pleading guilty to attempted murder, possession of drugs, drug trafficking, and possession of firearms, and a dangerous orders, and a possession of a dangerous ordinance. And they ended up giving me 10 years, right? They were saying I was going to get 20, and I was playing it as long as I could, all the way up to the day of trial. And I said, man, hold up, man. I'm about to tap out, man. Once they started pulling them guns out that they pulled out, that they had got from me on that traffic stop, they was like, man, we going to paint a picture for the jury to show this is how you roll, right? With guns and stuff. And we going to attach that with the other case. And it's because it wasn't no, for real, because they didn't have no pistol, none of that stuff. Only thing that they had, and then they were saying that the brother that I shot, he wasn't going to testify. So I'm looking at it as I'm about to beat it. But then when they pulled them guns out and stuff like that, the prosecutor, man, they pressed me, man. And I was just like, they had tore up the paper, the cop-out paper, the plea paper. And I'm like, man, go ahead and take that stuff back up, man. Like, I ain't about to do this 20, man. Go ahead and give me that 10. I copped out to the 10 years. My son was 3 months old when I copped out. I copped out in February of 2008, right? I had been incarcerated since September of 97. I did 5 months in the county because I couldn't bond out either, because I was already out on bond. So then they said that my bond, so I wasn't even able to bond out. So I was just stuck. So I had to do 5 months in the county. And when I copped out, my son was 5 months at the time. No, my son was 3 months when I got incarcerated, but when I copped out, he was 8 months, right? So I was just like, man, dang, man, now I'm gonna have to do 10 years and my son gonna be 10 when I get home. Like, that shook me, because now being in the county, Kiki, I started to realize that, man, this ain't the place for me. I started to say, man, hey, man, this is some adverse conditions. Man, I don't want to be living like this. This ain't no dang on Bahamas. This ain't the Cayman Islands. Man, this ain't no next level. Man, I feel crazy, right? So I started to already do different things when I was in the county, Kiki. I started to read the scriptures when I was in the county. I opened up the book. I didn't get raised in no church or none of that stuff.
Hey, don't go too far on that, because we're gonna get there. I don't want you to go too far, but you can don't go too far on it. But
right. So I started to read and stuff like that. So I started to do different things to come against, the mindset. But I was like, man, I just want to be prepared when I go home. And I was thinking I was gonna get out of it. I thought that he wasn't going to testify and all of this stuff. But when I copped out to the 10 years, I say my son going to be 10 years when I got home. I went on and took that ride, right? So I went on ahead and did the 10 years. So I went to Marion Correctional Institution to serve my 10 years. 19 years old. I was scheduled to serve my whole entire 20s inside of the prison. That means from 19 to 29 years old, I would serve behind them gates, right? With the ability to be able to get a judicial release after I served my mandatory time for my gun specification, which was 3 years and a half. So I had to do 3 years and a half to be able to file for the judicial release. And I was hopeful for that, but I was still in the mindset, Kiki, to where I was saying, man, I'm about to change the game. And this is at 19 years old. I was like, man, I'm not about to get reincarcerated again, man. This stuff is crazy, man. Like, ain't no way you gonna have me doing this after I get done with this, right? So I was committed, and it was an older guy that came up to me when I was inside, and he told me, he said, Los, right? Because dudes, they took a liking to me, whatever may be the case, like from all different types of cities, they just took a liking to me, right? And he said, Los, man, you a legal slave, right? You know that, right? And I'm like, man, what you talking about, brother? I know it's like slavery. Yeah, I know, I dig it, right? He's like, no, brother, you a legal slave, brother, the Constitution. I says, man, what you talking about? He says, yeah, the Constitution, brother, look at it, the 13th Amendment, when they abolished slavery. I say, man, what you mean when they abolished slavery? He says, man, look at it, brother. I said, okay, let me read it then. And I read it, and when I seen neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except for as punishment for a crime where the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist in the United States or any other place subject to their jurisdiction, I say, what the heck? You mean to tell me when they abolished slavery in 1863, 1865, you mean to tell me that this is the loophole? The only way to be a slave is through incarceration and it serves as punishment? You mean to tell me that this is why the furniture factory in Marion Correctional Institution is making $50 million a year, man, selling furniture that the inmates are making because they pay the inmates 22 cents an hour, and after 3 years they'll pay them 3 cents raise and pay them 25 cents an hour, and they making $50 million a year making this office furniture? I said, hold up. And the reason why they can do that is because we are legal slaves. I said, man, hold up. I'm a legal slave, but I'm not a legal slave because I was forced to be one. I'm a legal slave because I took on this mentality, this philosophy that put me in a position to be one. When I'm saying that I'm gonna sell my dope or I'm gonna rock somebody because of my dope and end up inside of this type of predicament, I'm volunteering to be a legal slave by the Constitution. Right? So I'm sitting up there like, this is what really like started to really get me in a different place, because I'm like, hold up, man, I'm not about to be playing with these people. Like everybody else laughing, they playing dominoes, they playing cards, right? They getting high, because you can get high inside of the penitentiary the same way you get high on the streets. They getting drunk, they doing all of these things, but I'm looking and I'm like, man, ain't nothing funny, man. We food on the table, brothers. Like we ain't got no seat at the table. We food on the table. We on the menu item, brothers. You understand that? Like, and I was like serious. And I'm like, man, I got to do what I need to do, because if I don't, then my son would be on the menu item once he becomes an adult, because he will get exposed to that same bogus information that I got exposed to, talking about I'm a hold down the block. This is what's honorable. It's honorable to body somebody that is doing something that's stealing from you, or it's honorable to sell dope to people who pregnant or sell dope in front of kids. It's honorable because you making your money, right? And I said that, hold up. I cannot allow my son to take on this philosophy that's going to put him in a position to be a legal slave. I just didn't want to be. I've never been okay with being no sucker. Did you not? Like, I never was okay with the idea of being fake or being a sucker. So when I was inside a prison and I said that, man, I'm a legal slave now, because of my actions, I felt like a sucker, right? And then I started to do a little bit of further digging that just drove me even more, because I said, hold up. Like, man, hold up, man. They took my cars because they said it was made by drug money. I said, man, they took my cars because they said that it was made by drug money. Listen to how the mind works, Kiki. I said, man, they took some money because when they pulled me over, it was money in the trunk too. They said that was drug money, right? I said, man, wow. I say, man, but they ain't take my money that I took to Michael Duff. They know Michael Duff require a good, nice size retainer, but they ain't questioning where that money was coming from.
Yeah.
Why was it okay for me to take my drug money to Michael Duff, but it wasn't okay for me to take my drug money to buy cars? I started to really feel like that I'm caught up in a system.
Come on.
Together. And I'm just in the middle, like a dang old, I'm on a treadmill running in place. I said, man, this stuff is crazy. You mean to tell me, man, everybody working together? So when I'm sitting up here paying this lawyer, he talking with the judge, that's how I started to think. It's like, man, this stuff don't make no sense. If it's drug money, then it's drug money. You should be
where it goes.
You should be storming the lawyer's office saying he can't use that money to retain you with. He needs money that is, man, that's documented. He needs money that has check stubs to it to be able to retain you. Why is it okay for me to use this money from anywhere and you're not challenging that, but you gonna challenge where I got the money to buy my cars with? So I started to feel like a sucker. And I started to look at everybody else like, man, y'all don't feel like no sucker? That's what I asked them. Y'all feel okay with this stuff? You know, and that just drove me, Kiki, to really like start to, man, come against the whole system at a young age, right? At a young age. So then that's what I'm like, man, I'm coming against the system. And that's what drove me to do what I needed to do, right? And my son, just understanding that I gotta be a father and I gotta become who I need to be, because there's no way that I can show my son the direction if I don't have the direction. If I'm continuing to put myself in a silly, goofy place, then there's no way that I can keep my son from entering a silly, goofy place. So I didn't want my neglect to evolve into becoming who I needed to be to cost my son, right? So I didn't want it to cost me, and then further down the line, cost my son. So I said, man, I'm about to, man, implement some disciplines about myself so I can be who I need to be. And that's when I just started to get busy, Kiki, you know?
Well, let's pause there, because I don't want you to get there yet. I don't want you to get there yet. Not yet. Listen, Carlo, listen. Are you seeing these comments, people? Are you seeing these hearts, man? Like, people are genuinely appreciating your transparency. Are you seeing this? Can you see it?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it over the side. Yeah, I see it. Absolutely. Okay. I'm just trying to get it out, Kiki, man.
Listen, you want to run. Listen, let me interject this for a little bit. A little here and there. We'll get there, okay? I know thank you, y'all. I appreciate it. Let them know that y'all appreciate his transparency. Let me get to a little bit of my questions. Just a tick. Just a little bit.
Okay. And another thing too, Kiki, transparency is the only thing that's going to force impact, right? That's the only way you're gonna have real impact is through transparency. It's the only way. Only way.
Very true. Listen, so I did my research earlier. I had I love playing every week. This whole week I've been playing antagonists the entire week, because this whole panel is called the state of mental health in the Black community, right? And somebody may be popping in here who don't look like us, and they may say, well, I know people that's been in prison. I know people who might have done the same crime, yada, 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 yada. What makes them so different? Or why is this such a big issue to talk about within our culture? And so, since we all love Google so much, I did a little research. And so let me just give some statistics just for a minute. According to the United States Bureau of Justice Statistics, in 2018, was just a year and a half ago, because we can't give 2019 statistics. It says that Black males account for 34% of the total male prisons. Like, they account 34% is Black males. White males make up 29%. Hispanic make up 24% of that. But when you think about in the large scheme of it, when you think about African American and as the whole, like in the country as a whole, we only make up 13.4%. Okay,
right.
So when you think of them, the numbers are like, oh, that's not so much. Listen, y'all, we're only so few, but yet we are the bulk of all the prisons. Now, given this,
no doubt.
Black males, yes, there's Black women, yes, there's other minorities in prison, but the Black males, they are the highest population in prison. And not just that, I thought this was, I don't know, I laughed at this kind of article. You might find it funny, maybe not. it was just that the article said that African Americans males have decreased in their prison rates. Like, that's not funny. It's great news, but at the same time, they are the majority in these
Right.
prisons. Okay,
Right.
it said in
Right.
2016, 2018 is when we decreased. Yet America is still the #1 country that has the highest incarceration rate in the world. I need to make sure people are hearing this. In the world, United States has the highest.
2.3 million.
I know you know your numbers. I know you do. You do this.
Yeah, 2.3 million people are incarcerated, right? 2.3
Yes.
million people are incarcerated, right? We make up 25% of the incarcerated population in the world, and we only make up 5% of the world population, but we make up 25% of the incarcerated population, the United States of America. 2.3 million people incarcerated, right?
Yeah. So can we go back just for a little bit? I know you got there. Before we get to the present, you know, where you at now and before you got out, because I want to go back there. Can you help us understand your mindset? I know you described that you obviously realized that this wasn't you. You shouldn't be in there. But your mental state of mind, now that you can look back to that state of mind, like, where were you? And I said this to you off air on Wednesday night. A lot of us got family members or friends that's in prison, right? I don't know what everybody else does to them, as far as how they treat their loved ones. And we talked about this. Were you receiving, letters? Were you getting visits? Because that all plays into people's mental state of mind. Like, well, man, I know I did the crime. You admitted that you did the crime, but were you at least getting some level of normalcy to make your mind state of mind not be depressive and not want to take your life and not be rebellious during this time? Like, so with all that, so kind of compact question, what was your state of mind, and then what was your what was life like as far as, did you receive those other parts of letters and visits and all that?
Right. Yeah. So one of the things I was able to hold on to was just, man, my idea of being a father. Right. So the reason why I was able to hold on to my idea of being a father is because, my son's mother, she didn't say that I was done for. She still expected me to be a father to our son. She still expected that from me regardless. So she still told our son, good things about me, because at the end of the day, they still man, that's Los, that's little Los. So he was still getting love and who I was in the hood, and she was still proud. That's crazy. She was still proud of me regardless. That's crazy, man, because it's because people would glorify it. Kiki, people would be like, Los hold it down, Los held it down, because I ain't turned nothing. I just went on ahead and did my time. I was connected to different people. I could have offered some stuff. People get to offering things up, and I didn't. Even during that time, I could have included the people who was in the car with me and said, you know what, let's put us all in it, to my time. But it's nah, man, I'm the one. I'm going to do my time. I'm gonna beat it on my own, but I'm not bringing nobody else in. So just being stand up, right? So it just brought about a certain level of respect. But she continued to push me being a father, right? I'm his dad. And my father, he would come and visit me, 4 or 5 times a year. And she lasted for about 2 years, right? She was rocking and rolling for 2 years out of 10, but then she was like, I gotta go, man, brother. I'm not about to do no whole 10, right? So next thing I knew, it was just my father and my son on the visit. I'm like, man, where's she at? Man, she got other things going on. I'm like, that's cold-blooded, right? So then that's when I was hurt on that visit, but I just started to really focus on being a father, because I'm like, man, I'm just going to pour all of my energy into being a father. And my father, he would bring my son to see me. Now, this is what it was. So for people who outside of Ohio, they don't know, my father, he stayed in Oberlin, that's Lorain County. He would drive all the way to Columbus. Columbus is 2 hours away, right? He would drive to Columbus to pick up my son, right? And he would bring my son back to Marion Correctional Institution, where I was doing my time at. Marion is about an hour away from Columbus, right? So after he would bring him to do the visit, he would take him back to Columbus, drop him off to his mom, and then go back to Oakland. He would do that 4 or 5 times a year. Just that level of commitment, right? That right there is what kept me really focused, because I had something to really continue to evolve for. So when people were saying, Los, man, let's go ahead and get high, I'm like, brother, ain't no way I'm getting high. You taking care of my kids? Because I knew that I was still a father, because that continued to be placed in my face. I couldn't like literally go back into my prison cell or my dormitory and bop somebody upside the head or get high or get in trouble inside of the prison, knowing that I just watched my son walk out of them steel gates looking back at me while I'm stuck behind the gates, and he's waving his hand, and I just see him continue to wave his hand until I see him no more. I couldn't go back to my dorm and act like I just didn't go through that, and continue to throw up these gang signs inside of the penitentiary, and continue to do the same thing that I was doing that got me incarcerated, to get reincarcerated once I got released. I couldn't really look myself in the face, in the eyes, and say that I'm a solid individual, knowing that I just experienced that. So with that, it just really, man, put me on my square all the way. And I didn't look outside of me, I looked inside of me. I said that it's about what I do. Man, I don't care what nobody doing. It's about what I'm doing. I'm about to really get busy. I had already got the scriptures, but I'm like, man, I'm about to really get busy now. Like, I'm about to get to it. So I got to write my raps, because remember, I still wanted to be a rapper, right? I got to write my raps.
Now you
I'm
got
like, man, I'm about to blow up when I get out of here, man. I'm all the way official. Right, I was serious. I was so sincere. I'm like, man, I'm about to be all the way official. Man, I'm about to write my raps. So I'm writing my raps. I'm working out. I'm in the scripture. You know, I'm listening to T.D. Jakes, right? I'm listening to T.D. Jakes, the Potter's House. That's when I got exposed to him. And I'm like, I'm just taking everything that he has to offer. I'm soaking it up. I'm letting it saturate my mind. I'm really into it. It's really helping me to evolve. I always say evolve. I don't like to say change, because when you change, you can go back. But when you
evolve, you grow it back. Yeah.
Right. You evolve, you can't go back. Right. I mean, if I evolve from being a toddler, I can't get back into a onesie, right? Because I'm a grown man. Right. I can't get a onesie because I've evolved into an adult. So I just evolved, right? And that just helped me to evolve. And that's how I did the time. But it was really, it really, man, that mattered so much, having them visits, because you got to think, Kiki, they had my Child and I Day. Right, my Child and I Day is when you was able to go outside on this big yard, and they would have all kind of different games. It was like a carnival type of situation, right? It was like a fair where they would bring COSI in. COSI is like a I forgot what COSI stands for.
Oh, in Columbus.
Yeah, in Columbus, COSI.
Is that like this? Is that
like the science or something?
Museum.
Like science? Yeah, like the museum, stuff like that, where they have all of these little fun things for kids to enjoy. So COSI had partnered with the prison, and they would bring different things into this My Child and I Day event. They was bringing in horses and things like that. They brought in horses where you can have the horses. They had the baseballs out there, the footballs out there, where they would just have, it was just a big old fun event. They would barbecue. Right? They would have barbecue out there and everything. They had this event twice a year, right? And my father made sure that he brought my son for this event twice a year outside of the regular visits. Now, what is the key to that? If you get in trouble inside of the prison, you can't attend these events. That means if I go to, segregation, which is the hole inside of prison is jail. So then that's jail inside of prison. So if I get convicted of a crime inside of prison and I go to jail inside of prison, which is whole for disciplinary actions, I cannot participate in my Child and I Day. Right. Now, Child and I Day, my son would look forward to it. They would give us our own personal cakes that they would allow us to design. And every year they had it in June, and then they had it in October. So then that means that in June, you had to be clean 6 months before the event for you to be able to 10. So then in October, you had to be clean for 6 months in order to attend. So what did that set it up for me? It set it up for me not to be going to the hole while I was incarcerated, right? I did 10 years without going to the hole, Kiki. And people would say, it's no way that you cannot go to the hole inside of here because of all of these different personalities and stuff like that. You're going to bang somebody upside the head. Something going to happen. And it's like, nope. I navigated through the prison, not going through the hole, and I held it down like in a real way. It was a beautiful thing. So I can make sure that I was able to participate in my Child and I Day. And my son, like when he would come in June, his birthday being in May, it was always, man, this is your birthday. You know, we celebrate your birthday. Dad made you a cake, right? And he just he like, man, yeah, my dad got me a cake. He was able to take the cake back home with him, you know, so he was just excited about that alone. And that continued to feed me. That continued to keep me on my square. That continued to force me to evolve. And that's why I say, man, children are a blessing from God because they will make you become better. Because if you don't, they will show you that you ain't doing what's necessary to become better. So I'm like, man, hey, I'm on to it. So I was just so committed to becoming who I needed to be. So when I got into college, I'm like, man, I'm serious about it. I got into business management in Marion Technical College because I'm like, again, man, I got to get everything that they got on the table. If I'm not eating, then that means that I'm food because food don't eat. And I'm like, man, I'm not about to be nobody's food. So I'm about to start to eat. And the way that I can show people that I'm eating is by taking things that's on the table. Like, so I'm like, man, hey, it's college, business management, I'm about to do it. And I did it in a real way, right? I graduated from business management with a 3.83 GPA. And you can take those credits and transfer those credits to the real college when you get home, right? So I'm like, so I was just so committed to learning that stuff. I said, man, okay, well, let me go ahead and get to my next thing. So I got into vocational training, right? I'm just taking advantage of everything that they have to offer. I got into administrative office technology, learn the computers, right? So I'm just like learning everything that I could. I graduated with a 4.0. I'm like, man, I'm getting it in. I'm like, man, hey, hold up. I still got time left. I still got about like a year left. Y'all ain't getting me out. Y'all ain't letting me out for judicial release. That's fine. I'm about to go ahead and get some more stuff. Let me go ahead and learn some Spanish. So I got into Spanish. Like, man, let me learn this Spanish. Mucho, pero traigo mucho a la mesa. I demand a lot, but I bring a lot to the table. So I'm like, man, hey, I'm about to get it in. Like, I'm about to become so well-rounded to where prison just doesn't fit me. I'm not going to wait until I get released for prison not to fit me. I'm going to make sure that prison don't fit me right now. So then that means when everybody else was talking about I'm a convict, I'm an inmate, he's an inmate, you a convict. Convicts are supposed to be the individuals who are supposed to be realer, right? They're supposed to be honorable, right? I used to tell, man, y'all jokers is silly. Man, I ain't no convict. I ain't no inmate. Man, I'm a father. Man, I'm a leader. Wow. I'm a businessman. Man, I'm a child of God. Man, don't call me no convict. Don't call me no inmate. Don't call me no nigga, right? They used to be like, Los, you tripping. I say, man, I don't want to be called nigga. Right? Why? Because that word was meant to demean me. You can go ahead and make a word for me and it be nigger. And then I say, I'm going to adjust it and put an A on it and say that it's mine now. That makes no sense. I'm going to reject that word. So don't call me nigger. I'm going to talk to y'all as my brother. So I used to call people good brother. Like, good brother, what up, man? I had the whole dorm saying good brother. Because I used to talk to people, I used to be like, man, look at the people who's like the Aryan nations and stuff like that. And they would just sit back and that's something that made me start to shift in using the word nigga. Because I was using it when I was growing up and I'm like, and it made me shift because I was just looking back and I seen the people who was like the Aryan nations and they was really into like that prejudice. They was really racist. And I used to see how they used to look at us calling each other niggas. And I'm like, man, that stuff looks silly than a mug. We look slow, like straight up. That don't make no sense. That means that they sitting back looking and saying, we ain't even got to call them that no more.
Because they going to call them themselves.
Each other that. They take care of that. Because as long as I look at you as a nigga, I can go ahead and body you. I can body you over some money because you just a nigga.
right? I can do that. And I tell people right now, the only way that I use the word nigga is when I'm conversing on why I don't use it. So don't get used to me using the word, right? I just use it when I converse on why I don't use it. But that's what was permeating through my mind. I'm like, through my bones. I'm like, man, there's no way. Like, I gotta attack this culture. Like, it's this culture that's putting us in these type of situations, because it's the culture that produces that type of mindset to just go out there and do things that don't make sense. Like, when you think about it, like, how can I tell somebody white don't say nigga and they made up the dang on word? Like, that makes no sense. I'm gonna tell you, don't use a word that you made up, that it's mine now, a word that wasn't meant for my betterment, that wasn't meant to highlight the best in me, and I'm gonna say that I'm going to accept it. It's almost like saying that I'm going to accept a plate of boo-boo that you give to me, and I'm gonna put salt and pepper and hot sauce on it and say I'm gonna make it taste right. It's like, nah, brother, I'm gonna let you keep that dang on plate. I'm gonna get my own food. So then that's how I started to change in my wording, in my language. I stopped cussing inside of the penitentiary, Kiki, because I said, man, I don't even want to have the language that resembles where I came from. Like, I'm gonna come against my language, right? Like, period. Because when I would say I don't give a F, right, man, stuff would happen. When I would say, man, I wish somebody would try me, they did, right? It was crazy. So I started really identify how powerful my words were. So I said, man, I need to start to talk, man, about things that I want. I want to talk about where I'm going. I want to talk about what I'm becoming. Like, that's what I'm going to be talking about, instead of talking about these things that don't make sense. And I was serious about that, Kiki. And the reason why I'm serious about that is because I was a father, like, straight up and down. And I was a father, and I couldn't get away from that. So
your mindset is crazy, though. Crazy. Your mindset is crazy. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, who are you, man? Because listen, I wrote this down earlier. I was at work, and it was supposed to be a question, but you just, I'm gonna still say what I said. I said, on a mental note, man, like, when you're in prison, to me, I'm thinking it's close to military, you know, in a sense. I was in the military, if you didn't know that. And I'm not saying it's just the same, but when I think military, I think prison. Meaning, when I remember walking in the first 24 hours, right? They trying to change your mindset. They trying to break down who you were coming in there, so you can be exactly who they want you to be when you get out. You in prison, it's not so much they breaking you down thinking you even coming out. Some people don't even want you to come out. I mean, there's people that's working there. They don't see you coming out. They see you staying there. You know, or a recycling door. So when I think about it, I'm like, man, prison and military is almost the same, because they break down your mindset, your thoughts, to make you become, in a sense, I don't want to say a toy, because I respect the military, but they condition you a certain way to make you do what they want you to do. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
They do. And so there's a mind game, and I don't know why I hadn't said this the entire time. I wrote something down. I didn't listen. You a child of God. We talked about that, and you've mentioned that already. This is why it's probably so essential that God tells us daily to renew our mind, right?
Right.
If you in the military, you're in prison, you constantly got them telling you how they want you to operate. But you gotta renew your mind, not just what they want you to do, but you gotta renew your mind. Like, all right, what does God want me to do? Even in your situation, you can still renew your mind. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no doubt.
I'm not about to. In your case, you had a son to live for. You know what I'm saying? I do want to touch on this before we go back into your story, because you told me this even off air. You do give credit to your son's mother, you know, for her still allowing you, and still allowing you, but also forcing you to be a father behind the bars. And I wrote this question down to help the women who may be watching this show, right? If you can help the women who are watching this show, who's got children by somebody who's locked up right now, I sometimes call them the bitter baby mom. I hate the word baby mom, but there are some. And there's a difference between bitter baby. There's a difference between my mother and baby mom, and daddies and baby. There's a completely different terminology. But for the mothers who actually have somebody who's in prison, what encouragement would you give to them for allowing their to let their father still be a father in their lives? I'm not telling you to force them, tell them to go visit or write, but what would you suggest to the mothers who are sitting here and they're like, I ain't about to do that? What would you say? Because you've been on the other side, and thankfully you've had the other co-parent who still forced you to be a father, even behind bars. So that question is, what would you say to them? What would you suggest to them to do to somebody that was in your predicament?
Right. So first thing, Kiki, is like my son's mother, she ain't forced me to be no father, right? She just made right, because I don't believe that nothing is ever, man, obtained by force. So she didn't force me to be no father. She just made sure that she supported me in being a father and let me know that I'm still valuable regardless. And that helped me to combat what I was being told by the people inside of the prison, the administration, and people telling you that you done for, and you 10 years, and other people inside of the prison saying that, you know what, hey, man, he's gonna be 10. He ain't nothing you're gonna be able to do. You can't be no dad. But what I would tell, the mothers out there who has their child's father that's incarcerated, is just about expectation. Man, expect the best out of that individual, right? That's so necessary, because a lot of times you get what you expect. If you don't expect much out of them, then you ain't gonna get much, right? So you expect that, and you just open it up. Just allow that father to know that they are welcome, that the letters are going to be read, that you are going to participate. You don't have to go down there and visit him. You ain't got to do none of that, but just let him know that he has access to his child. He can write his child, and you still expect them to become who they need to be, so then they can be the fathers that they need to be to that child, right? So it's just all about expectations, and that's what I would tell any women. Like, you don't want to do this stuff by yourself, man. Like, it is not even set up for you to do this stuff by yourself.
Come on.
It takes two people. If it was set up for you to do it by yourself, then you wouldn't need, you would be able, it's some animal out there that could just have children by themselves, right? Like, but we not them, right? You gotta include, a man. So it's just, so you don't want to just do this by yourself. So I would encourage, like, not to look at all of the wrong, but look at the right. Like, look at the right in that person, and just encourage that right that's inside of them, so you can see more right. If you focus on the right, you will see more right. But if you focus on the wrong, you will see more wrong. So the more that you get to telling them about everything that they did and where they messed up at, the more that they're going to see it in themselves, and the more that they're going to continue to mess up, the more that they're going to continue to do what they was doing. And then now they are going to be no service for you or your children. Right. So it is always good to look at, man, what it is that what's right about them, and saying that, man, yeah, you were selling dope, but you really was trying to sell dope to provide for us. You just had the wrong information. Right. You had the wrong information. Yeah. But now you are getting some different information. And I expect you to come out and be better. I expect you to come out and never get incarcerated ever again. Right. And now right there, it can change the game. With that man that's inside of the prison, right? Because that women have a lot of power with men, right? Yeah. Women start to say, man, hey, this mindset is not acceptable no more. Then guess what? We're going to abandon that mindset. But as long as it's supported and we can still get women with this mindset, then we're going to continue to keep that mindset. So when the woman starts to say, you know what, hold up, brother, what are you studying? Like, hold up, what you doing? Like, what you working on? Like, I don't care about, man, no dominoes and cars, brother. What you working on? Like, you ain't working on nothing? Man, how you think you gonna be any different if you ain't working on nothing? You ain't in no type of programming? That means that if you ain't in no type of programming, that means that you are being programmed by a system that's gonna keep you there. You have no service for me. Like, once you start to hold people to what you expect, and say, man, hold up. Like, I'm not about to sit up there and be playing no games with you. I'm not sending no money in for you just to go to the commissary. I'm not doing none of that stuff. Like, I want to know what you are doing as far as making sure that you will prevent this from happening in the future. And you can't just tell me it ain't nothing for me to do.
because I talked to that good brother Los, and that good brother Los, he done wrote books with what it is that you can do inside of the prison. And you ain't, man, doing this right here, then I know that you're not a good investment. I'm about to go ahead and back out this puppy, because I'm not about to throw away no good money on no foolish behavior. Like, I'm not about to sit up there and be collecting calls and all. No, I'm not doing that, right? No. So that's something that I always encourage that woman out there to do, is just like be real supportive. And a lot of times when people think when people think of support, it's I'm gonna do everything that you tell me that I gotta do. And if you leave it up to that guy who incarcerated, he gonna tell you, man, just go ahead and load up my books, send me money, I'm getting me a clothes box. This is what I need. This is what I. Nah, like support sometimes is saying no. Like, nah, brother. Nah, man. Like, I need you to tell me, man, what book you done read. I'm sending you in a book, and we're gonna have a conversation about that book that I sent in. I'm gonna read the book, you read the book, and we're gonna have a conversation with that book. That's why I wrote the books, Kiki. I wrote the book for that person who incarcerated and that person who is supporting that person who's incarcerated. So now when you read Prison Without Bars, right? My book, when you read that, you like, man, hey, hold up. Man, Los was talking about this. How come you ain't doing that? What you talking about? What you think about that concept? You know, and now y'all can have some real conversations when y'all talking on the phone. And it ain't conversations about what you doing, what you wearing. Man, I miss you. It's real conversations, right?
Yeah.
Real conversations is coming from real thoughts. So you got to make sure that their thoughts is where it needs to be. Because if their thoughts is not where it needs to be, then guess what? You are going to continue to see them going through the revolving door, because their thoughts has not evolved, right? It has not been no paradigm shift. And because there's no paradigm shift, you're going to continue to get the same results. And your children are not going to be able to benefit from them. They are going to be poison to your children. And I'm just telling you facts, right? The reason why I say
facts, yeah.
Because they got a poisonous mentality. And I hate to say facts, not facts, man, truth, because facts can change. They're going to be, this is the truth, right? The truth don't change. The truth is going to be it for the duration, but facts can change, because you know how that can be, because they can say, man, you know what, it's going to rain tomorrow. That's the fact. But then tomorrow comes, it don't rain. Right. But truth don't, right? So it's just saying that, man, they're going to be poison to that child, because they're going to give them that poisonous mentality. Man, this is how you move, brother. This is how you move, youngster. You know, they going to tell them that poisonous mentality until they infect your child. Period, point blank. They ain't coming with a medicine type of mentality to where they can start to cure your child from the environment that your child is in. They going to come with that poisonous mentality, right? Because they ain't talking about nothing. They thoughts ain't where it need to be. And you know it is by the conversation. So you got to start to stretch them, right? Have that conversation. You ain't got to be with them. Just have the conversation, because you did lay down with them, right? You did make the decision to lay down with them. So it's a part of the responsibility. Right. Your child. This isn't so much as for them, it's for your child. So just offer them the support so then they can evolve into the person that they need to be. Don't abandon that individual, because that individual is still going to be needed in the development of your child, right? So it's just saying that I don't have to be in an intimate relationship with you to support your evolution, right? I can still be here, have these conversations, and still hold you accountable to what I expect. See, so often they say, man, you know what? I gotta be in an intimate relationship with him. No, you don't. Yeah. Like, this is for your child, because at the end of the day, that's still half of your child. That person, that man who incarcerated, is half your child, and your child is going to be looking at that individual. So it's like, now you got to invest into that individual. And people say, man, that's him. No, you participated in that. This brother was messed up when you got with him, but you still decided to allow him to have unprotected sex with you. So don't just blame it on him. This brother was who he was when you got with him, but he was making some money. So you
it over here, bro.
Guess what? You got a child now. And because you got a child now, he still must be a father. So now you got to shift from being in an intimate relationship with him and now look at him as your brother, right? Look at him as your brother and say, man, you know what? I still want to support him in his evolution because I want him to be successful. And you got to be so secure in that to where you could tell the person that you with, your fiance or your husband or whatever, and I'm doing this because I want him to be the best him, because the best him is going to impact my child in the best way. Like, this is bigger than me, right?
Yes.
It's bigger than you. It's bigger. It's about our child. And I want to make sure that he has what he needs to be able to be the best him, right? And that's what I'm telling. I kid you not. Like, these are solutions. This is what, that woman can do for that person. But so often, it'd be some jacked up stuff and the woman be like, man, forget it. I'm just going to go ahead and find somebody else who doing some of the same things, right? Until that person gets locked up and then they find somebody else, because it's coming from, it's coming from a philosophy. The reason why we are in the place that we are is because of the philosophies that we develop, right? So it's the philosophy. So that woman has that same philosophy, right? To where even they are still glorifying that lifestyle. They still say, man, this is because it's all about money, right? And people focus more on making money than making an impact. And that's where we suffer at in the Black community, because we lack money and we think that it's all about money. So then that's why I'm in a space in my mind when I'm a teenager to say that if I just get enough money, man, I will be okay. But that money is not going to replace my mother that's not there, right? Money can't develop an actual individual. The only thing that can develop an actual individual is another individual. That's reserved for another person. But we put the premium on money, and that's the issue, right? So now that woman who probably didn't grow up with a father as well is saying that, man, you know what? It's all about the money. Like, he can't get money while he in there. So what use is he? But he is important. So that's what we got to do first and foremost, is understand the importance of that individual who is incarcerated and increase the value. One thing that I say to people all the time, Kiki, I say, man, how do you reduce the recidivism rate? You increase the value in the mind of those people who are incarcerated, right? And basically, I had to increase the value in my mind and say, man, I'm above this. This ain't about me, man. I'm not a legal slave. I had to increase the value in the minds of those people who are incarcerated. That's the first thing. What's the next thing? Increase the value in the minds of the society in the way that they view the incarcerated. So then that means that the value has to increase in the minds of the people who are in society, meaning that I'm not about to throw you away, brother. Like, you are incarcerated, so what? You got something to offer to humanity, and we need to get that thing up out of you. The reason I know you got something to offer to humanity is because you down here on this earth. This earth is reserved for a special few. Everybody don't come down here, and you come down here with something to offer the earth that is going to benefit humanity. It is my responsibility to make sure that I pull that up out of brothers. So ain't no way I'm gonna do everything in my power, Kiki, to pull that stuff up out of people. Why? Because I'm staying on this earth. It's not like I'm on Pluto, on Mars or something. That means that if you on this earth, I'm gonna try to get everything up out you that you have for us as human beings to make it a better place for us to live in. Like, increase the value in the society in the way that in the minds of the society, the way that they view those incarcerated.
Have you ever heard that do you know where the richest place is at on work?
The graveyard.
Yeah.
The graveyard.
The graveyard is the richest place. And I know some people may not have ever heard that. But there's so many people who have left us with cures to diseases. They've left us with inventions. They have left us with numerous things like cars, everything that you could think of. Let's sit there. There may be time that we have idle time and you just thinking like, man, I can make that. Or you've seen a product that's already came out. There's so much that we wonder how things can work. But the reason why we ain't got the answers is because people die with them.
No doubt.
People who watching us right now, I mean, yes, I understand you are loving Carlos. Clearly, that's why he's on here, y'all. But there's so many people here we're so in tune with our phones, so in tune with social media, that we missing our time. Look, Carlos, listen, you telling us right now, even the people who aren't even, we're not even in bars, right? We never been behind bars. People that's watching us, you ain't been behind physical bars, but you're behind a whole bunch of social media bars, electronic bars. No, you wasting time. Carlos told you he spent 10 years, yo. Listen, you mastered more than I have in 31 years, okay? I commend you. Look, I'm trying to go back to school. And you telling us you had nothing but time, right? You could have been doing anything in time. And I think I said this yesterday about I was trying to tease the show about how a lot of times we see our cousins and friends, they get out of prison and they buff, right? So they big physically, but they mind has like this
no
big,
doubt.
like
No
their
doubt.
brain is like nothing. They don't know nothing. And some part of them they don't know nothing because I mean, I know you can watch the news. I got a friend right now who's spending 37 years, and I don't know if it's, I think it's 37 years. I don't know if it's alive, but it's 37 years. 37 years, listen, I don't care. 37 years is a long time. And this was in 2016, okay? I think 2016, 4 years, okay? I still, talk to him, write letters and all. 37 years. When I did the math, 37 years, I was like, bro, I'm going to be like almost 70 years old when you get out. But I'm going to still be a friend. I'm going to still support him. I haven't went to visit him yet because he's in a different state. But all that being said, his mind is sharp, man. He's sharp. He paying attention to everything that's going on in the world. He's reading books. He as almost like you say, he the one that got everybody coming to him about stuff. They really look at him like, you was in the military? Like, what? You don't belong. You shouldn't be in here. His mindset is super, super, super sharp. It's just, but things happen, right? We make choices. Right. We got to deal with the consequences. So let me get here. I don't want to fast forward your story, but I do want to be obedient to time. I know we talked, but we got no time. But I want us to talk about towards the end of your 10 years, right? When you getting out. When you got out, at any point between you getting out, hold on, you said 10 years. Hold on, let me do this. What year was it that you got released? What year did you get released?
In 2007. 2007, right before the economy was declared the Great Recession, right? Yeah. So right before the economy was declared the Great Recession, it was declared the Great Recession in December 2007 officially. I got released to the halfway house, Harbor Lights in Cleveland, Ohio. I got released to the halfway house in February 6, 2007. No, February 12th or something like that. 2007 to serve my 6 months, my last remaining 6 months in the halfway house, transitional control. And then I got released from the halfway house in August 6, 2007.
So here's my question. When you got out, okay, hold on. Before I get my question, someone said, can you shout out the name of that book that you raised up first? Because I know you said you got several. The one that you just raised up, can you mention the name? And what we're going to do is for anybody who's just now joining live, we want you to catch the replay. Show them the name of the book, Prison Without Bars, Carlos Christian. What I'm going to do, Carlos, when we actually do leave, I want you to get back on to the thread of messages.
Right.
You go on and actually list your books where they can find them at so they can support you, okay?
And one thing too, Kiki, with that being said, man, always get it off of the website. I always keep people off of Amazon. Like, I don't really like Amazon in my business like that, to be truthful. So get it off the website. My books is always on my website, startswithin.com.
No problem. I want to ask this question. At any point from 2007 to even now, we in 2020. That's 13 years. Man, that's 13 years.
13 years. I've eclipsed my 10-year prison sentence by 3 years, right?
Yes.
So then eclipsed my 10-year prison sentence by 3 years. Like, that's like some defying the odds type stuff, man.
Yes. So at any point, has your mind shifted? Now, I know it's got sharp because we can obviously see that. But was there ever a weak moment, where your mind, with what you just came out, you got out, right? And everybody congratulating you. You said you did your time with no complaints, no issues. Now you out. People may be looking at you jealousy. Some people are probably like, hey, let me get you back into what you used to do. So was there any time that your mind was fighting another mental war of wanting to get back into what you were doing? Like, was there ever a weak moment? Ever?
Oh, nah.
No.
I mean, because I was already, that's why I tell people like, man, this stuff is, I mean, this is, man, I've been called for the times such as these, man. Like, I mean, it just, I mean, I changed directions immediately when I was 19 years old to start to commit to my evolution. And it's just, I mean, I had that understanding that it's a no-win game. It's not even a good business choice. So it's like, it's no way I can sell dope again, because I mean, once I started to get that understanding, it's no way. I gave it my all, and my all wasn't enough. It got me 10 years in prison and a legal slave. So it was no way that I could ever sell dope again, right? And I'm telling you, I was around people who like was the connect. Like I was, man, like people was the connect, and they was willing to do like good stuff for me, you know. But it was never even in my mind. And I went through some stuff, Kiki. Like I went through some stuff. Remember, it's 2007. I'm getting denied for jobs left and right.
Right.
I mean, I didn't get a job for nothing, right? And I'm like, man, this is crazy. I mean, people looking at my record, they like attempted murder, man, brother, you dangerous, right? Drug trafficking, possession of firearms, brother, ain't no way, right? So I'm getting denied like a mug, right? And you got to think.
Where was your mental at during all of that then?
It was, and that's what I'm saying. It was just like, man, I was just so committed to getting it done. And I had to tell myself that, you know what, man, this is the last no, and then the next one is going to be a yes. And then when the next one was a no, I was like, this is the last no. The next one is going to be a yes. But I've always had that spirit. I always had like a fighting spirit, regardless. Yeah. Always had a, man, you knocked me down, I'm about to get back up. Like you hit me, I'm coming right back, right? I'm shooting dice, I'm gonna keep on shooting until I win, right? I don't care. I might be down, but I'm gonna be back up again. So I've always had that spirit of being able to overcome regardless. And I kid you not, this was before I even started to understand scripture. But now once I started to understand scripture, that became my foundation. Now I was able to really apply the scripture to my life. And I'm like, man, hey, I'm doing what's right. And because I'm doing what's right, I'm in alignment. Man, this stuff is going to open up. I just got to continue to plant the seed and the harvest is going to come, right? So I just got to stay focused. And I just said to myself, as long as I continue to plant, then I will reap the harvest. But the problem is that we stop planting because we don't see the harvest. But I said, I'm going to continue to plant. So I started to really focus on doing my job. And what was my job? To plant. My job is to plant. So what is planting? Planting is me continuing to go to these interviews. Planting is me continuing to fill out these applications. Planting is me continuing to get connected with different individuals who were working, because I say that if you are working, then hey, that's the best chance that I got for me too to be working. Walks with the wise, you shall become wise. He who walks with fools will be devoured. So I say, I want to be wise, then I need to be walking with the wise. If I want a job, then I need to be walking with individuals with jobs, right? So I just wanted to get connected with people who was already employed. The first person I got connected to was the person who is who was over the employment piece inside of the halfway house, and he just took a liking to me, and he said, "Man, you know what, Los? I seen you getting denied left and right. You ain't getting no luck." Man, guess what, man? I'm gonna go ahead and send you to the west side of Cleveland, and it's my guy, right? We grew up together. He's good people, and I don't send him nobody unless I'm confident in the person that I'm sending to him. And I said, cool. He says, go over there. And I went over there. Only thing I had to do was just fill out the paperwork. I already had the job because it was the word that got me the job. You know, so then this is when I'm really starting to drive it home. It's like, man, it's all about relationships. Like relationships. This is the most important thing. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Right people, you get connected to the right people, then guess what? You can overcome any type of barrier. How can I overcome a 10-year prison sentence? How can I overcome attempted murder? How can I overcome possession of firearms? How can I overcome a single parent household? How can I overcome all of these things? The way is through relationships. So I say, man, let me make sure that I nurture my relationships, right? Make sure that they are hitting the right way, that they right. I got my first job through that relationship, right? I got laid off, Kiki. I was working for $6.85 an hour. I was working it like it was $40 an hour. So what did I do when I was doing that?
I'm just continuing to nurture the relationship. So now my guy who is in the halfway house as the job specialist, he's getting feedback from the supervisor who's at that job saying, man, this brother golden. Man, this brother coming in here sweating bullets. Man, he getting to it. While everybody else was complaining about that $6.85 an hour job, I'm up in that puppy like, man, this stuff beautiful than a mug, man. I done got like a 6,000% raise. Like, this is crazy. Man, it was 22 cents an hour in the joint. I'm getting $6.85 now. Man, that's like 5,000, 6,000% raise. Like, you understand how I feel right now? Like,
yeah.
Went into your boss tomorrow and they said, man, Kiki, man, you getting a 6,000% raise. How you gonna feel about that situation?
Yeah.
About that job? You gonna be excited, right?
Exactly.
So it helped me to be able to work the way that I was working inside of that job. But the feedback was coming back to the to the job specialist. Man, this brother the real deal. And then the job specialist is talking to the director of the halfway house. So when I got laid off, guess what? The director was like, man, I got another connection for you. I'm gonna send you to the Salvation Army. And they want trustworthy people, and you the one that fits the script. So again, I was able to get another $6.85 an hour job, and I worked it like it was $40 an hour. And then I got another case manager inside of the halfway house. I kid you not. I got another case manager inside of the halfway house. He was like, hey, Carlos, man, I want to talk to you. I got an opportunity, man, where you can do some construction work, right? You can do metal framing. I say, man, cool. What's up? He's like, man, hey, man, they paying $8 an hour with dollar raises, man, 30 days, 60 days or whatever. I said, for real? I said, man, I need that. So he hooked me up with that. So then I got that, making $8. So then that whole 6 months, Kiki, because I was so committed to that and working, man, when I got released from the halfway house, I had $3,500 because I was just stacking my money.
Yeah.
I wasn't spending my money. I was stacking it. While other people was playing around, they was going out, getting high because you had access to the streets. Like, I was stacking my money, right? Dudes was already coming in, buying me clothes and stuff. So then they bought me clothes, they got me shoes. So the people from the hood, they was coming in just dropping stuff off for me because they excited for me to be home. I'm like, I'm excited to be home.
Right.
So lacing me up. My brother, he was lacing me up with leathers and stuff for me to come home and embrace the Cleveland weather in February and stuff like that. So I didn't have to spend my money. And at the end of that 6 months, Kiki, I had $3,500. 2 days before I got released, I got my license, right?
All right, finally.
I came up there, he helped me go and get my license. So I got my driver's license. So when I got released, I had my driver's license, I did $3,500, but I had also put down the security deposit and my first month's rent to the place down the street off of 30th and Carnegie. I had a 1-bedroom place and it was furnished. And I said, man, this is what it is. So it was $475. I gave them the security deposit, first month's rent, $475. I gave them $950 total. Boom. That's how I was able to move in. So I left the halfway house. I moved into my own place. I said that I wasn't going back to my father's house, even though it was available, but I just didn't want to, man, like open somebody else's door because I was already in a position to where I did 10 years to where I was under other people, guidelines and stuff. So I said, man, I'm not about to go and lay on my father's couch. Like, man, I done did 10 years. I done did it, So I was so focused on really getting my own place. So I left the halfway house and went into my own place, Kiki. And that puppy was furnished and everything, Now with it being furnished, they had the bed, it had couches, love seats, the TVs, it was like really dope. I was like, man, my brother said, man, this is the bachelor's pad. I'm really excited about it. But along with that furniture, man, them critters was all through that puppy. It was roaches all in there, man. Like, and they were so aggressive, like really didn't care about me or what I represented. They didn't care about my history. Like, they didn't care about none of that. It's like, man, we taking your stuff, brother. Like, they was eating my stuff. I'm like, y'all jokers is just so disrespectful. And then they didn't come out Like, they didn't come out when I told people about them. I used to tell my brother, I used to be like, this stuff on the documentary, I kid you not. I told my brother, I say, man, listen. I say, man, they up there and they so disrespectful. This is crazy, man. They everywhere. They just running the place, man. And they ain't paying on rent or nothing, right? And I'm like, man, this stuff crazy, right? And he said, man, he come up there to look for him, and them jokers was nowhere to be found. And then it's like, man, where y'all at, man? Like, they here, man. He's like, man, Los, you just, man, exaggerating, man. You probably thinking about the joint, man. You like traumatized or something. I'm like, they here. And as soon as he walked out the door, no lie, man, I turned around. Just looking at me like, man, what you doing talking about us, man? Don't nobody know about us but you and us, man. Don't be talking about us, man. I'm like, y'all jokers is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, but I was still excited about being able to have my own place. You know, at the end of the day, man, that was my own place. And I was able to pay bills. You know, I was able to pay bills. I was able to like really start to live my life, man. Like, I'm 29 years old and I'm able to start to get my own place, right? Like, that was something special for me. And I kid you not. So, yeah. So with that, just go ahead. Kiki.
Oh, my bad. Wanted to go. Take us from your first apartment then to, tell me how you got from there to the start of where you at with what you do day to day. You have full-time committed yourself to doing. We haven't said what you do all the way. Right now, some people don't think you're an author and that you were once in prison. But tell us how you got from first, your job, your first apartment, to then where you got to your company, where you at, where you spend your whole time. How'd you get there? Just because that was from what made you move in motion to make that become a reality?
Right. So say that question again, Kiki.
Okay. So how'd you go from the first apartment, to then the thought of where you wanted to start?
Starts within?
Yes.
Got you. Okay, cool.
Move us there.
So cool. Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, so I'm out now for about 4 years. So I ended up leaving Cleveland and I moved to Columbus, right? And the reason why I moved to Columbus is because when I got that construction job, I was able to go back and forth from Cleveland to Columbus because they was contracting us to build a Hilton hotel out here in Columbus. So now when I'm coming to Columbus, remember, my son stays in Columbus, right?
Right.
So 10 years old and I'm home. And I remember that when I come down here to do the job, after the job was over, I would go check out my son, and I would check out the football practice. He was playing football, and I'm just excited, and his mom excited about me being home. She's moved on. She has her guy and stuff like that. And I remember at the football field, I had met, my son's mom, my son's mom now, which she was soon to be my wife. Right. And I said, man, and we got together, we kicked it off. And she was like, man, you know what? This was in August, right? When I'm coming down here and I'm going back and forth. Right. And she was saying, man, you know what? You need to just go ahead and move to Columbus. And I was like, man, okay, my son stays there. Might as well. She's like, you might as well move to Columbus with me and we can go ahead and do this thing. So by October 31st, I was staying in Columbus, right? And we was rocking and rolling. And so 4 years go by, but throughout the 4 years, a lot of things was accomplished, right? So 2007, got out. I had got my son. I had a little dispute with my son's mother. She's like, you can't see him or whatever may be the case, right? It was crazy. That's a whole nother story, right? And then I realized, man, how the father has no rights in the state of Ohio if you had a child outside of wedlock. I realized that, man, through that situation. That's Ohio Revised Code 3109.042 if anybody want to look it up, right? And it says that the mother is the sole residential and legal custodian of a child if she's had that child outside of wedlock until a court of competent jurisdiction deems otherwise, right? So, but I ended up having to get a shared parenting plan.
Okay.
Ended up going to the courts. I got a shared parenting plan, and that granted me my rights. But But the way that I got it is that the mother, she was like, man, I'm not tripping. We was arguing. I'm cool. And she ended up signing the shared parenting plan and supported that shared parenting plan. So then I started to understand how to get that done and how important that was. I also got, I got jerked around by child support during that time too. I wasn't reporting to child support because I thought that they was gonna holler at me like they hollered at me when I was in the penitentiary. I thought they was gonna holler at me when I got home. They didn't. When I realized that I was in default is when I got pulled over and the police said that I didn't have no license. And I said, what you mean I don't have no license? They said child support has suspended your license.
Yeah.
I said, that's crazy. And what I ended up doing, I ended up, they said I had to pay 3 months in arrears to get caught up. And I said, cool. I had a $50 child support order. And the mother, she wasn't pressing it because she knew that I was picking up my son every day, so I was doing my thing and I was getting school clothes. I'm doing everything, right? So she was like, she wasn't pressing it, right? So when they suspended my license, so I'm like, this is crazy. So I ended up paying the 3 months and then they didn't get the memo and they ended up wiping out my bank account, right? They wiped out my bank account. And then when I called them and I said, man, what the heck? Like, I got to pay my bills. I'm still working. At that time, I'm working for like $9 an hour. I'm like, man, I got to pay my bills, man. Y'all done took my whole entire bank account, right? And they was like, man, you in default. And I was like, man, I paid the 3 months in advance. And they was like, oh, we didn't know. Oh, we didn't get that. It was a mistake. I was like, man, well, where the money at? They're like, man, we sent that to the mom. I'm like, that's cold-blooded. So I go to the mom and like, man, can I get that? I came like, man, can I maybe get half of it? And she was like, man, listen, brother, it came at the right time. That money, man, I just spent that stuff on bill. I say that's cold-blooded, man. So I was going through these things when I was out. And again, the other thing that I was going through too, remember when I had came home and I was staying in 30th and Carnegie, it wasn't because I couldn't afford no place else, because I wanted to go to Lakewood in the suburbs of Cleveland, but they wouldn't allow me to go to Lakewood because of my felonies. And I was trying to get different apartments and I couldn't get those apartments because of the felonies, right? So I say, man, I say that's crazy. I say that's crazy. So I couldn't get the apartments in Lakewood. So I said, man, that's crazy. So what I had to do, I say, man, that's cool. I'm gonna stay in that apartment with hold on real quick, Kiki. Hold on real quick. So what I had to do, I couldn't get them apartments that I wanted to in a better place. So I had to go to the hood. So in 2009, when I moved down to Columbus from 2007 to 2009, we ended up buying a house, right? So then I started to learn how to establish my credit and things like that. I established my credit to where we can go ahead and buy a house. And then I had a 2-year work history because of all of the time that I was working my minimum wage and things like that. So I wasn't working minimum wage when we was able to get the home. And then my son's mother at the time, my middle child's son, she was working too. So we was able to go and secure a mortgage. And that's how I got it done. So then I just started to get this information, and then I started to make investments too as well. So I said, man, I want to learn out how to make investments. So I started to get on Scottrade. So I said, let me get a Scottrade account and start to make investments, right? I want to figure out a way to get that done. So I started to make investments because I was getting back tax returns because I was able to claim my children on the tax returns. So I was getting back like large returns. So I wasn't spending those returns. I would take them and I would invest them into stocks and things like that. I was trying to figure out what to do with it. So first I started off with CDs and people said that it was slow. And then I said, okay, well, let me go ahead and try a mutual fund. And I did the mutual fund and it was still kind of slow. And then somebody told me, man, just go ahead and buy your own stocks. And when they told me that, I said, man, okay. So then I got a Scottrade account and I started to buy my own stocks. So I'm getting this knowledge. Right. Now, 4 years now, this is where we're going with it, right? 4 years down the line, I see a case manager who was there in Marion Correctional who did the 10 years right alongside with me, who know me from doing the 10 years. And he knew how I did it. And he was like, man, you was always the real deal when you was incarcerated. And now look at you, man. You got you a car. Because by that time I had got me another car. I got my first loan on my car. So I got an Impala at the time. I'm feeling it. So he like, man, you got your car, man, you looking real good, man, you doing your thing. I want you to come back in and I want you to talk to the guys that's incarcerated. And I was like, okay. But I was like, man, I don't want to just talk. I want to give them this knowledge that I got, right? And I said, man, how was I able to become successful? And I said, man, I was able to become successful because it started within. I said, man, it started within inside of myself. It started when I was incarcerated inside of the institution. So I said, it starts within. And that's how I came up with the name Starts Within. So it just got placed on my heart. The Starts Within organization, right? So I said, boom, I'm going to create the organization, Starts Within organization. And what we're going to do is we're going to establish a program that's designed to get the people all of the information that I've been able to obtain since I've been home. And I want them to have it before they even get released. So now be able to get way further than I have gotten because they're going to get the information way before I had gotten the information. So I want them to know about credit because I didn't learn about credit when I was inside of the penitentiary. I didn't learn about how to buy a house when I was inside of the penitentiary. I didn't learn about investments when I was inside of the penitentiary. I didn't learn about child support orders when I was inside of the penitentiary. I didn't learn about a shared parenting plan when I was inside of the penitentiary. I didn't learn how to file that stuff pro se without no lawyer when I was inside of the penitentiary. I didn't know that stuff until I came home and went through it. So I said, man, what if they were able to learn it before they got released? That's next level. And then that's how we form the Starts Within organization. And I said that, you know what? I'm going to teach all this stuff myself. That was my idea. I said, man, I'm going to teach all this stuff myself. And now, and until I was talking with my banker, he's more than a banker now. He's like my brother, you know. He just started to give me the game on how to work the finances. He has like all of these letters behind his name, you know, degrees and all kind of stuff, right? So I'm like, no doubt. So he would give me the game, but I would soak it up. But then he also had the connection to different professionals who were able to teach what I wanted to be taught. So I'm like, man, real? I said, okay, so then this is what I want to be taught. I wanted to be parenting. I wanted to be cognitive behavior therapy, decision making. I wanted to be financial literacy. I wanted to be employment readiness, and I wanted to be small business and entrepreneurship. Do you have the people that can teach that? And then that's how we started the design of the organization and the program that we have, that we've implemented inside of the prison. So now it's like we put them through a year-long program for 52 weeks. Right. And they do 8 weeks of parenting. They do 8 weeks of cognitive behavior therapy. They transition into 8 weeks of financial literacy. They go into 12 weeks of employment readiness. And then they finish it off with 12 weeks of small business and entrepreneurship. We have them meet once a week for an hour and a half. And the people who are coming in, they are professionals. So it started off with the professionals, and then it just evolved into it becoming like professors from colleges to teach the curricula, and they are specialists in that curricula. So I'm like, man, cool. And now I come in along with the professor, right? So now what happens is that I have created an actual position for that person who has felonies on his background and has been able to overcome it. Because now what I'm saying is that for this person, for these group of people to go through this year-long program, there's 20 people to go through the year-long program, right? For them to go through it, they need that technical information for them to be able to function in society, but they also need to know that that information applies to them. So they need to see that individual who have been able to apply that information. And that's why it's a real live movement, because I tell them that although the professors, man, they interchange, they change up as the modules change up, right? So you'll see one professor for 8 weeks, you'll see another person for 8 weeks, you'll see another person for another 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and etc. But you'll see me every single week. So I'm coming in alongside with the professors or with that specialist who know how to teach what they teaching, because I'm the bridge between the professor, the specialist, and that person who's incarcerated. And that's how the program is implemented. And that's why it's so effective. And we get people who commit to that year-long class. And people say, man, how do you get the guys to commit to something for a year? Like, we can't get them to commit to something for 8 weeks, right? But I can get them to commit to something for a year because they see the direction, right? They see the direction. The reason why people like motivation, Kiki, is because they lack direction. And once you give people the direction, now they become motivated. So when I'm showing them that I'm over here and I've been able to get this accomplished and that accomplished, they see where I'm at and they are motivated because now I'm giving them the direction to get to where I'm at. And they trust me because they know where I've been. And they don't even have to come up with me. They don't have to come from where I come from. They ain't have time with me. But I kid you not, man, this stuff is like a 401k. This stuff roll over. That means that when people look me in my pupil, right in my eyes, they understand. Real deal. They know I come from that stuff. You can't escape it. And it just resonates. And that's how they are able to really follow the movement. And that's how they get inspired. So we've been able to implement that programming inside of the prison. And people say, man, you know what do you do inside of the things? I'm gonna give you an example. Some of the things that we are able to do, like in the financial literacy section, we teach them how to establish their credit, right? That's the first thing. Teach them how to establish their credit. Why? Because I needed to establish my credit, and now my 730 when I got the house was worth more than my 355 519 that I did my 10 years on. So I said, man, you know, if a 768 or a 730, I blew it up to a 768, but it was a 730 when I had got my house. I say, man, you know what? That's worth more than my 355 519. So now my background check doesn't matter. It's my right now check that matters. So let me go ahead and teach them how to establish their credit, right? So then that's what we teach in the financial literacy section. Now, I kid you not, is men who don't know how to even start a checking account, Kiki, right? Because they've been dealing in the underworld. Like, don't nobody cash checks. Like, everything is money, right? Everything is money. Don't nobody know nothing about no banks, right? Don't nobody know nothing about no credit card. Everything is cash because that's the environment. So when they come home, if that's all the knowledge that they got, they're going to go back to what they know. So now I'm like, man, okay, well, we need you to learn how to establish credit. And this is how we are doing something that's different, that hasn't been done, because I was like, man, I went to the administration and I'm like, man, hey, we need to pull a credit report. I don't want them reading a mock credit report. I want them reading their own credit report. You know, and they was like, man, that hasn't been done. Their identity is going to be compromised. And I say, man, forget that. I say, man, their identity is compromised because they don't know what's going on with their credit, right? And after they said that, I'm like, man, they was like, man, okay, I understand. So then they allow me to pull their credit report. And when we pulled the credit report, Kiki, what we found out when we was teaching them how to read their credit report, what we found out is that other people was opening stuff up in their names. Their aunts, their uncles, and stuff like that. Wow. They were incarcerated. They were opening, direct TV bills in their names, allowing those accounts to go delinquent. They were opening credit cards in their names, allowing those accounts to go delinquent. But again, information influences thinking, and thinking controls behavior. What we said is that, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. We're going to show them how to dispute what's on their credit report, right? We're going to show them how to dispute what's on their credit report. So now the homework turns into, you are going to write a dispute letter to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Yeah. And they're going to provide the envelope for us to send it to these credit agencies. And now you will get that wiped off. So now they get a chance to see their credit reports come back with those delinquent accounts disputed and taken off, right? So now what is that? That's information. Now they understand how to repair their credit. Now they understand how important credit is. What does that do? Now they are able to take that home to their communities. I'm so hype about that. They're able to take that home to their communities, because when they take it home to their communities, Kiki, now it's not going to be that 13-year-old who says, I got to sell dope, because you're going to have people who have influence in the community coming home to the community with different information. I'm going to show you how to establish your credit now. I'm going to show you how to go ahead and buy a house instead of renting. I'm going to show you how to do things on a different level, so you don't have to sacrifice your life and see all of that stuff get taken. I'm going to show you how to do things on a different level. When we put them through the business management piece, we teach them how to establish their how to write a business plan. So at the end, they have their own business plan. They got that knowledge to bring that knowledge back home to their communities. They're going to bring it back to their nephews. They're going to bring it back to the friends who still look up to them, right? They're going to bring it back to all of the people who they still have influence with, and they're going to say, man, this is how you get a shared parenting plan, brother. You got to get that. That changes the game, right? So then that's why I'm excited about the program. Guess how many times we've graduated that program? It's a year-long program. We started Starts Within in 2011. We can put 20 people through in a year, right? We've graduated 5 year-long programs, Kiki. That means that I went through the Walking Logo Starts Within program 5 times, right? That means I tell them that you ain't the only one going through it. So, hey, I want you to know what you can get done. So a lot of times people need to know that they can commit to their commitments, right? Like a lot of times we don't know how to be. And that's the greatest issue. It's like we don't know how to move, we don't know how to be. Like, I want your word to be solid. I want you to say and mean what you say. That means that if you say that you want to be a father, then make sure that your actions support that. You can't say that you want to be a good father if you sit up there putting yourself in a position to get shot up, if you put yourself in a position to be incarcerated, because that's not being an effective dad. I don't care how much you say you love your child, but if you put yourself in that position, then guess what? Your children are going to suffer. So I want your actions to actually support your words. And what I found out, Kiki, don't nobody just sit up there and say, I'm cool with being a deadbeat dad. Don't nobody.
Right. Nobody. Yeah.
Right? Don't nobody want to admit to that as a whole. Right? So, yeah, so we've been able to graduate 5 of those year-long programs. And that's that's the next level. And when this pandemic is over, we're going to do it this next year with 2 of them running at the same time. Okay. And the reason why we do it so sporadically is because of the funding, right? So I've been just grinding. We have officially becoming grant funded to do a fatherhood program right now. So I'm officially on a salary now, right? Okay. But throughout the time, right, I've been just grinding it out. Like I've been selling the t-shirts, right? So then that's why when people see me and they see me with the t-shirts in my trunk, I've been grinding it out. That's why you see Fight to Feed and you will never go hungry. I tell brothers like, man, I fight to feed y'all brothers. And that's why I'll never go hungry. I don't fight to eat. If you fight to eat, you will starve. And I tell people that, and that's why I'm not starving. I'm eating and I'm not hungry because I fight to feed. I fight to provide opportunities. That's why I continue to get opportunities. That's why it opens up for me. It's just a mindset, right? We just a shift in the way that we thinking. So when I'm out here and I'm in at the park tournaments, like you see me at the park tournaments, you see me putting in the work under the sun. And I'm telling people about the Starts Within organization to get them to purchase a shirt, right? And I'm in the sun all day from 9 o'clock till 6 o'clock. I ain't doing nothing but telling people about the organization and selling these shirts. And that was helping to continue to fund the organization and the movement. Now we in a place to where we starting to get some results, to where you starting to see, you know, the results and people not going back into prison and people starting to do different things. And now the agencies and people are saying, hold up, this is a real deal. You got something here because we're able to show, right? But it took from that grind, from me selling the shirts. You see me anywhere now, you're liable to run up on me with a shirt in my hand, right? Like, here goes a shirt. You look in my trunk, I got it laced up with shirts, right?
You see my trunk right now.
I got it laced up with shirts, man. And it's all, and all of the shirts, it supports the mission. And what I say the mission is turn the penitentiary on his head, stand the community on his feet. And this is not just wishful thinking, it's strategic. God a strategy. That's what people feel. He's strategic about moving. Right. So when I say turn the penitentiary on his head, that's how we gonna do it. We gonna do it by attacking the culture that continues to promote and develop the individuals that get incarcerated, right? That develops the mentality, the philosophies that get us incarcerated. How do you attack the culture? You attack the culture with the information that you inject into the culture. So now I'm going to start to inject the information and say, you know what, this is how we get credit. This is how we buy houses. Okay, they won't let us go ahead and rent in the suburbs. That's fine. I just closed on my house in Pickerington, Ohio.
I see that.
Right, April the 17th. I closed on this house, Dolo. April 17th, right? April 17th. Because why? Because I'm on a salary position now, and I can go ahead and say, man, hey, I can afford the mortgage payment. So now I don't no longer have to rent, right? That's next level. Right, so now what we gonna do is start to tell other individuals, man, brother, you need a 2-year work history. Don't even worry about it. You need a 2-year work history. You need to establish your credit. And it, man, becoming a homeowner is a business move, right?
Yeah.
Like that you can start to get equity, and you can go ahead and use your home to fund your idea.
Yeah.
So now you don't have to do things that people do in the gutter to make money. Like, it's crazy how that works. But now what we can do, and the way that we're going to be able to turn the penitentiary on its head, is by injecting that information into the hood. And that information has to be injected by those individuals who look like the hood. The hood has to be able to identify with the individual who is injecting the information. Because if you're not identifiable by the people in the hood, then they will reject your information. And that information can be medicine all day long. But if I don't relate to you, if I don't trust you, I will reject your medicine because I feel like that is possibly poison. And I'm going to go with that poison, even though it's continuing to make me sick. I'm not even going to take the medicine because I don't even trust you. So the way that they can trust that person is by being able to identify with that person. Guess what? Remember when I said it's the 401k, this stuff rolls, it doesn't matter. They know me.
Man, Carlos, listen.
They know me. And they receive that information. So I tell them, and I'm telling you, man, we effective in juvenile facilities. People see the juvenile, they like, man, the juveniles is crazy off the hook. And the juveniles read the book. Or when I go inside of the juvenile facilities, they read Prison Without Bars. They read the walking logo, right? They reading this stuff. They reading this stuff. They digesting it. When I go inside of the county jails, because the sheriff is buying the books. The sheriff buy over 900 copies of my book, spread them throughout the jail. You know how he buy the books? He buy the books with seized drug money that he make from drug busts. And I told you that back in 19 years old, they seized my money because they said drug money. Now my books, I kid you not, is getting bought by seized drug money made by drug busts.
Listen, I know
I kid you not. I kid you not, man.
I know I can say this to you because you being a believer that when we say that all things work together for the good, like
no,
you it really do. I know sometimes Christians, we be like, yeah, that scripture don't really mean it. And it says for the good who loves the Lord, right? And I know you people like, I don't see how all this bad that I went through is really gonna work out for my good. But I mean, here you are. I think we joked about it off here on Wednesday. You pushing, what is it, 40, 41, Carlos?
I'm 42, Kiki.
42. I was trying to give you a little bit, a couple years young. You know, I told you on Wednesday, you older than me. No, so you're 42. And just think about from 19 to 29, you know what I'm saying, your years of being incarcerated, from then to now 42. I mean, that dude, you said that walking logo, which I know is you, but you a walking testimony, man. Like a lot of people don't come out thinking the way you do. They don't have your father. You know, I had a show on Tuesday talking about the absence of a father. Your father, man, deserves a Father of the Decade, okay, award.
That's my guy. Absolutely.
Your dad he's a best. I mean, there's no words to describe him because he didn't have to do that.
Right.
He could have just came to see you on his own. But the fact that he came and bring his son with him, That's just incredible. Now look here, I want to do this. I want to. I'm not trying to cut you off. I want to. For one, I got some babies that fall asleep on me over here. but
Right.
but and I want in these next 15 minutes, I do want to offer people, not just you, because I'm gonna give you a chance to wrap up. But I want, if anybody happens to have a question for you, I want people to feel like I didn't give them an opportunity to ask you a question. Maybe I don't know what the people want to ask. I know a question I want to ask. You already answered. 5 years. 5 years you've been running this program. You said, right?
No, I've been running. No, we graduated 5-year-long programs. I've been running the Starts Within organization since 2011. So I had to, we had to establish it. So it's going on. We're going on 9 years.
Okay.
Started in 2011, but we ran 5-year-long programs.
Okay. Anybody, listen, this is the problem, because I know as soon as we get off, somebody gonna be like, I wanted to say something.
Right.
Well, here, I'm gonna say this. To someone who, I want you to talk to the person who was you at 19 years old. I know earlier I mentioned telling everybody to find somebody to get them on here or have them watch it. The one question was, is it only in Columbus? And I know that's not right? SWO is not just in Columbus, right? You've expanded.
Man, sheesh. I'm glad that you asked, Michelle. Like that's why I'm like so like charged up about this, because this is geared up to go national. And the reason why I say national, again, I'm not just talking because I got lips, right? There's strategy to it. Right? So it's some real stuff. We got access in all of the prisons inside of the state of Ohio because of the ability to be able to establish the relationships with the people at the top. That means that the directors and the regional directors and things like that, they support the Starts Within organization. When I told you about the sheriff, like, he supports the Starts Within organization, right? He supports the movement, and that's an elected official to be able to come into his jail. Why is it so important to get the people at the top to support the movement? The reason why it's so important to get the people at the top to support the movement, now you can really progress. You need two populations. You need to be able to relate to the people at the top. You need to be able to relate to the people at the bottom in order to have a real live movement. You can't just have one part, right? You got to be both, and you got to toe the line. And that's what we've been able to do. And the reason why I say national is just because, one, we talked about 2.3 million people that's incarcerated inside of the United States of America. Well, Ohio, we are amongst the lowest in recidivism. That means we were at like 27% the last time I seen, whereas national is 43%. Recidivism means the likely going back into the same lifestyle and going back into prison. So then that's recidivism. So what they say is nationally, it is 43% of the people who get released are going to get back incarcerated again, right? That's what happens. But in Ohio, it's 27% of the people who get released, they get incarcerated back again. Why is that important? We are leading the nation in recidivism. Because we are leading the nation in recidivism, when we start to establish those relationships with the directors and the people who are at the top, who are controlling Ohio, now what that does, it causes other states to listen to Ohio. Why? Yeah. Because we are leading the recidivism rate. Why? Why is that important? Because what I've known is that a pastor is going to listen to another pastor. A director is going to listen to another director. A judge is going to listen to another judge. A sheriff is going to listen to another sheriff. Right? Yeah. Why is that important? To expand the movement. Because now, once we went to Indiana, and I said, man, hey, I'm coming and I want to go ahead and do some programming in Indiana. Indiana said, hold up, you got backgrounds. And what happened was that they reached out to Ohio, the directors and the people in Ohio who has the influence. They said, Carlos Christian Starts Within organization, real deal. They rolled out the red carpet in Indiana, right? So now that's two. So now we take 2 men directors and 2 people at the top, and then we get 4. We get 4, we turn that to 8. We get 8, we turn that to 32. And you saying, man, what about 16? No, we start to triple it now. We do more than just double, right? And that's how we start to get the states across the nation.
because we get the people at the top and they see the impact that we is making. So when you asked me, Kiki, you said, Carlos, man, I want you to come on and talk about it. The reason why it's so important, because, man, if it's enough movement at the bottom, the people at the top have no choice but to come see what the people at the bottom is doing, right? Yeah. So why is that important? So anytime that I have the opportunity to talk about the programming that we are able to do, the impact that we are able to make, I hop on it. I pounce on it, because that's a part of the movement. Why? Because when I go to churches and I tell the church congregations, man, this is not me coming to the church asking you for a hookup. I'm coming to the church and I'm offering the church a solution.
Yeah.
Asking for a hookup. I'm helping you to be able to do your work. Like, this is the work of the church. This is the work of the believer. It's no way that we should be sitting back watching all of these people suffering because they don't have the right information and they don't have the right mindset to be able to function in life. We say somebody else gonna do it. No, it's not on somebody else to do it. It is on us to do it. Say, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. It doesn't say that I'm gonna wait for heaven to come. We are responsible in creating heaven, and that is our responsibility. And God has given us everything that we need to create heaven, but we ain't doing what we need to do. So then that's why we continue to live in this hell. It's because of our neglect, right? So that's why I take the opportunity and I'll take hours out of my evening to talk about this stuff any given day, right? Because this is me. This is what I've been put here for. That's why my story is what it is. That's why people say, man, that stuff sounds crazy. Man, you got people from the top end and they signing off on stuff like that. And, and that stuff might not be true. Again, strategic, right? That's how I got the documentary, right? I did a 2-hour-long documentary. And that stuff is on the Starts Within website, because people might not really believe that. They might not really say, man, it's really a sheriff that's buying books and putting his books throughout the county jail with seized drug money. Yeah, I understand that. Well, you got the sheriff on the video, on the documentary. We in an empty jail cell. And he's saying, Carlos, I buy your books with seized drug money. Why is that important? Because now the people who are in the community who votes the sheriff in place, now they can be in Colorado and they can say, Sheriff, what are you doing to implement programming? What type of programming that you are implementing inside of jails, instead of continuing to release the people in your jail back into my community with that poison mentality to continue to infect my community, right? My community can never become healed if you continue to release poison back into my community. I need you to release a medicine type of mentality, a medicine type of philosophy. Guess what? I came home with a medicine type of philosophy, and that's why my son, who was 10 years old when I came home, he was cured, right? That's why people that I come in contact with, they are cured, because I came home with a medicine type of philosophy. We need other people to come home with a medicine type of philosophy, right? So then that's the movement. But that's why you got the documentary, what it is, and you'll see the director. You'll see the judge, right? You'll see all of the people who got that influence with decision makers. But what I want to show in the documentary is also get the people to understand what you can get done. You know, it's other sheriffs, and they was like, man, I didn't know I can use drug money to buy stuff, to implement programming in. And I'm like, you absolutely can, right? Like, listen to this. He says you can, right? It changes the game. But it also starts to get the people in the community to start to hold, you know, these institutions and directors accountable. It's starting to hold the governor accountable and tell a governor, man, I'm not about to vote you in until you make sure that you're implementing proper programming inside of the prison. Like, I want programming to look like that. If it don't look like that, I can't vote you in, governor. Like, it's just that real. I need to see that on the ticket. Like, what's that programming looking like? I'm not taking no more of the flim flam of where these individuals is coming home and they still talking about gangster, you know, like at the top of the list. Like, I can't go through that. So that's the idea, Kiki.
My bad. I'm looking at one of the kids and they looking sleepy. So
right. I mean, but we got it in, man. We got it in.
We did. I want to ask this. What would you? That's what I was trying to say. My bad. I was trying to ask, what would you say to someone? Listen, it's my nephew that's paying attention. He's looking at you. He's looking at you. Gosh, you're gonna both my laptop and my iPad. Like, who this dude talking? Which is a great thing. Which is a great thing because throughout this entire week, I've had men. I started off with men. I had 2 men on Monday, 2 men on Tuesday, and here I got you. And it's incredible because the one thing that one of my friends had said on Tuesday was, I can't talk about any of these issues this week without having both components, a woman and a male perspective, because men need to see other men be as open, transparent about their story, and know that when they see you, just like you talk about the inmates that are in there, when they see you, yes, they may see all these professors coming in spitting knowledge, but they might not, to them, they might not roll off their shoulders. But until they see Carlos Christian walk in, they can like, oh, I can relate to him. They might not know your whole story, but they see you, so they relate to that. So I'm thankful that you came on. Listen, I'm glad that you don't mind pouring in your story. Listen, I'm thankful, Carlos. I had no clue about you. Honestly, I didn't. Like you said, I met you, I don't even know how many years ago that was. We was down at Overland. I just remember walking up to you, like, and I saw Shaka, like, hey. And no, I called you Shaka, actually. I called you.
Right, yeah,
like,
right.
No, that's my brother. I'm like, yeah, you ain't Shaka. You just, and you, to be honest, you had your T-shirt, and you had you had one of your books, or if not two, you had your books there with you. And I feel not obligated now. I gotta sew into you. So let me say this first, because I don't know what you got to cash that, man. I feel led to say this.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Yes. $sign starts within.
Say it again.
$sign starts within.
Yeah, I want anybody, and I haven't done this because honestly, I felt led to say that on these last couple days about myself. But tonight, what you're talking about, there's no way I would do any justice to this if I did not ask what your cash app was. Because hold on, let's do this. Hold on, let's make sure somebody don't lose what we're talking about. Hold on. Because I think even as believers, and we've had believers on all week, that it's a blessing to give to people. A lot of times we give our money foolishly to other things, right? We eat out fast food, we eat at home. We do a lot of stuff foolishly without our resources. And why not support somebody that look like you, somebody that do what they like, and not just what they like, but is help having a blessing, help with other people. I was going through literally. I felt the need to say that this past week, like, oh yeah, if you might want to believe, it's been blessed by Cane & Co. Company, why not be, bless mine? But tonight I feel it's for you. I didn't do it because sometimes people feel like you're doing it for money, but when it's bigger than you,
no doubt,
you want to be a part of that. And it's not so much people say, oh, I did this, I did that, but you want to be a part of it. So look here, this is what I want to do. I want to give you two questions. One question and one last thought. Question is, if somebody's looking at you right now, and I was going back to that, that's what I was trying to say earlier, back to that 19-year-old you, right? Because I'm praying and I'm hoping and believing someone's going to share this video. Someone who's still playing around in the game. Somebody still, they've only maybe done a year or two, in like little local jail, right? County. They've only spent a little bit of time. But they still playing. They feel like they're not gonna spend no time. Because that's how you thought when you was 19 years old. You was about to do what you were doing.
Right.
Can you speak to that person right now? Because I'm like I said, I'm praying that somebody's gonna send it. So what would you say to that person that keeps playing with the system? That keeps playing
no
with
doubt. I'm glad you asked. Like, so this is something else too, and I want to really show what. So this is what it is, right? Look.
You know what? Pull it up a little bit just because I want to actually read it. Or you read it to us.
Okay, yeah. So it says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except for as punishment for a crime where the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist in the United States or any other place subject to their jurisdiction. So you say, man, what would I say to that 19-year-old? I would tell my brother, man, hey, man, you are a legal slave. Like, you are a legal slave. Like, as long as you put yourself in a position to be a legal slave, brother, you cannot, like you food. You are on the menu item, period, point blank. So now it's time to really start to position yourself to be in some real power and move with real power and not just play with this monopoly money, because that drug money is monopoly money, right? Because it gets taken. It gets taken at the end of the day. You hardly ever, you don't even see people who really survive it, right? Even the movies don't even set it up to where people survive it.
No.
Even all the movies, Scarface, Paid in Full, all of them go through the stuff. They get killed, they don't even survive it in the movies. So it's telling you right there, you know, you'll be able to get a 2-year run, 3-year run, 4-year run, but you're going to pay for it with 20 years, right? Like, so for that 4 years, and that 4 years ain't even going to be comfortable. That 4 years is going to be uncomfortable because you're going to be worried about the police and everything else. So that's going to be uncomfortable anyway. So it's just about appealing to the mind. And one thing that the brother Nelson Mandela said, man, back when he was breaking the apartheid system in half, right? He says that, man, I got the hearts of the whites, but I got the minds of the blacks. How did he get the hearts of the whites? He got the hearts of the whites by his ability to forgive. Because he said that he forgave Percy Utah and his wife, and he met with the one Percy Utah. He was the prosecutor that was trying to take his life. But back then, when he did the 27 years, but he forgave. So then that got the hearts of the whites. But he had to get the minds of the people, because the people was like, we got them running. Because we got them scared. That's the only reason why they let you out. Because we got Kunto we Ciswe and we doing our thing, right? We got them backpedaling now, right? It's blood that's spilling, and they wanted to stop the blood, and that's why they let out Nelson Mandela. But he says, but the people was like, man, forget that. We ain't forgiving nothing, man. Let's go ahead and take them out. Let's go ahead and switch it on them. And he says, man, listen. I'm telling y'all, I'm y'all's leader, and I'm gonna give you leadership. And he says, man, it's one man, one vote, and I'm gonna be able to become the president, because we got more of us out here than people who ain't us. So once it become one man, one vote, I'll become the president, and things will be changed. And that's what got the people, because it made sense. So when we talking to that 19-year-old, you can't come at him and just say, oh, just do it because it's the right thing to do, or just do because you want, you know, to be good out here. They ain't reading that. Their heart is hard, right? It needs to make sense. Man, how does it make sense for me to do something different, right? Nobody came to me with that when I was 18, 17, 13. They ain't make it make sense. If they would have said, Los, see, what made sense to me then was that, man, if you make it and you do it right, man, you'll be able to make a lot of money and you'll be able to be good. But that's what you have to do with that 19-year-old. You have to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Period. You got to let them know, like, man, this is what it looked like. And again, Kiki, nobody explained to me what prison looked like. They didn't explain that to me. They would come out from doing their time, and they would come out with, man, I did that stuff standing on my head. Man, I'm doing my thing, right? To where I would look at it and be like, you getting celebrated? Like, everybody is excited that you home, and you said that it wasn't nothing, and you still getting money, you still doing the same thing, and you still getting more money, and you get locked up again, and then you come home again, and you still getting more money. So prison really ain't that bad. But when I had the time to do that time, and I said, man, hold up. You mean to tell me I can't go visit my people when my son was coming to visit me? You mean to tell me I got to strip down naked and bend over and spread my cheeks and lift my feet and stuff like that for me to even go on a visit, right? This stuff is inhumane. You mean to tell me I'm around all these people with different personalities and they tolerate me, they ain't celebrating me, and I gotta be like, it was hell on earth. Like, it's close to death. Like, it's close to death. Prison is close to death. But they didn't explain it like that. Prison is close to hell. It's like one next step to hell. It's just showing you, man, what hell look like. It's not hell, but it's showing you this is what it's going to look like.
Real close to it.
It's real close. You see the same people cycling back in and out in prison. You see the same people over and over again. There's no new faces coming into the prison. Like, that's what hell is about. It's like showing the same thing it's no new surprises, right? And then even when people come in and they young, they 19, guess what? That's a son of a father that you know that's in prison, right? They just like the father, and they act just like the father. So even the son who's coming in new ain't new, right? And that's why it's so much like hell, you know. And we want to really like, but that's how we gotta describe it for people to be able to make the right decisions. Because if you don't describe it like that, then guess what? You can't make no accurate decision, because you're making a decision based on inaccurate information. So then that's what I do. I just explain exactly what prison looks like, and then I let people make their own decisions, because I'm not forcing nobody to do nothing. It's like, man, this is what it is. Now, if that's what you want to sign up for, go ahead and get it. But this is what you can also do on this end. So our responsibility is not to control or make nobody do nothing, because we can't, right? Our responsibility is just to give people the information so then they can make a quality decision. And that's what my books is about. That's what my speaking engagements is about. It's just about saying exactly what it is. Nothing else. I don't have to make stuff up. I'm going to tell you exactly how I felt when I was in prison. Man, I felt like a dang on legal slave. I felt like food on the table. That's what it is, man. The 13th Amendment. This is what it is. So I explain that. And when I explain that, now when that person is going to pick up that dope or shoot that gun, it's like, man, I don't know if I can really go through with this, because I feel like a sucker if I were to do something like this. Let me go ahead and figure out a different way to get at it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we do it, Kiki.
So I'm gonna ask the last question that just popped up, and then and within that last question, give us your last thoughts that you want to share to people now. And your last thoughts, show us all your books. But also, I do want you to come back after we end the broadcast, to come back on, show us. Well, you told us the website, but make sure they see your name. Go in the thread and actually put your website down, and so people can actually see where the information is. And I'll let you do my best job too of tagging you back into this. Once it's done, I'll go back in and tag you and add you some stuff in there. But I want people to support you. So here, the question is, what do you think about the luxuries they have in prison now, like internet and their own computers? What is your opinion on that?
Okay, hold on. Okay. Tell her. Okay.
You want me to tell you?
No, never mind. I'll talk to you.
Bye, I love you.
All right, love you too, son. Okay, yeah. So it says, what do you think about all of the luxury they have in prison now, like internet and their own computers? Okay, so what do I think about that? Well, it's just something else to probably distract you. It's something else to distract you. And you gotta be focused on what the task is at hand, because you with all of the luxuries and stuff, it's other stuff that's been in there. I mean, it's pacifiers. I mean, it'll be more money spent on games than money spent on programming, right? It'll be more money spent on workout equipment than money spent on programming. It'll be more money spent on Xboxes and luxuries and stuff like that than programming. But if they get the right information, they can utilize all of those luxuries in a good way, right? They got to have the right information to be able to utilize those luxuries. That's what it's all about. They need to utilize those luxuries to be able to become better. So if it's cool to have your own computer, if you got right content on the computer, if you learning how to become different things and do different stuff, right? That's a good thing, because now when you come home, you're gonna have a whole different mindset. So I'm not against that. I'm just against, man, how the stuff is used. Like, I mean, if you're just playing games and you just waiting for your time to finish, then that's going to be a problem, because you're going to have to do some more time after that anyway, because you ain't going to be the person that you need to be.
It's true. Well, any last thoughts, Carlos? Any last thoughts you want to add to the people? Anything you might have got a chance to say I didn't get a chance to ask you that you want to share with the people?
Right.
How they can connect with you? How can they find you? Who knows? Even come get you to come speak, and it's crazy, man, that I'm talking to you. This thought just came to my mind before you say anything. I used to want to do it, host an intervention, like camp, whatever you want to call it. I used to watch a lot of intervention shows on TV, right? And I know a lot of kids here in Lorain County. I mean, I ain't gotta go as far as say Lorain County. I know a lot of kids in my church. Let me just go there. A lot of kids in my church. I spent time in county, juvie, right? And they all come out and they think it's nothing. And they are a part of that revolving door. And I've been like, maybe they haven't really met somebody that they can relate to that would make them realize, like, this ain't it. This ain't it. And you know, some people are like, oh, they're young, they'll learn, or maybe they haven't had anything worth holding them. I'm talking about, I know kids, I call them a kid, I don't care how old it is, that got kids, and they keep going back in. And it's like, right now, I'm thinking, like, this ain't the last time me and you working together. Like, I really legit want to do something. However, because I know some kids, and I know some parents right now who like got their hands tied. They feel like they don't know what to do with their kid because they keep seeing their kid keep going back in the system, and they just ain't met nobody yet that can stop them. And so maybe, you know, even if it's not stopping, but change their thinking. I feel like if you change somebody's thinking, you can change their act. Because I said that all week. What we think,
no doubt.
do. Whatever we think is how we do. What we think, we become. So, your last thoughts, sir. I don't want to keep rambling. What's the last thoughts? What you want to share with the people?
So yeah, just like, I mean, the speaking and all of that stuff, man. That stuff is important, man. I mean, we just need to get people to change the direction, right? So sometimes, you know, we get discouraged because they're not to the destination that we want them to be. But the main thing is to get them to change direction, right? If you change direction, then you can make it to the destination.
Right.
We got to get them to change direction. And that's what can happen through an interview. People can be listening to this right now and they can change. It can cause them to change direction. And then they'll start to build, they'll start to walk on their journey to a new destination. Their direction could have been off of the cliff, right? It could have been going towards off of the cliff. But now they heard this. Remember, it's one word that can change the direction of a person's life. And that's important. So when them kids or them youngsters or anybody who is struggling, it's like, man, because you might not be able to get me every time to like speak. And that's just what it is of all of the stuff that I'm doing, right? But then that's why I put the stuff available. It's on YouTube. I got YouTube videos crazy. Like, let your people listen to the YouTube videos. Look at the Starts Within website. Show the 2-hour-long documentary. That's me talking. Pick up my books, right? My books. It got that stuff. It's the same thing that I'm saying. It's in my books, right? So you just get the books and you do it. And this is the last book that I just wrote, and I'm excited about this. And this is The Greatest Responsibility, Becoming a Parent Your Child Deserves, right? I'm excited about that, man, because again, what I want people to understand, we talked about the 2.3 million people that's incarcerated, but we also got to talk about the 2.7 million children who are under the age of 18 who has an incarcerated parent.
Yeah.
And that child who's under the age of 18, the chances of them getting incarcerated are 3-4 times more likely than their counterparts who does not have an incarcerated parent. So if we don't address that situation with that person who is incarcerated and become that parent, that father that they need to be, then they will raise their children to become incarcerated themselves. And their children can possibly make our children into victims, right? It's just that serious because their children can become adults and make our children, when our children become adults, they can make our children into victims, right? That's just what it is. And I'm not trying to put no scare tactic. It's just getting you to understand how this is an interdependence. Humanity is about interdependence. That means that I cannot be good if you are not good. Why do I grind like this? Why do I drive in the snow, level 3 snow emergencies to get to Indiana? Why do I do that? Because I'm really attached to this movement. That means that I cannot be good if my brothers is starving. So then that's why I fight to feed. And sometimes I gotta fight the actual brothers that I'm feeding to get them to eat the dang on food. But I fight because I say that you need to be fed, brother, right? Gotta understand the way that we gonna be good is to make sure that our brethren is good. And that
our responsibility. It's not only our responsibility, but it's actually the best thing for us. The way that you taking care of yourself is when you take care of the people around you.
Yes.
People around me is struggling, and people around me is eating ramen noodles, and I'm eating steak. They're going to be looking at my steak, me in the head to get my steak. It would be best for me to teach the people around me how to eat the steak and how to get the steak. So you ain't sitting up there coming at me and I can eat my steak in right? So doing for you is doing for me. That's the way that it was. So when people be like, I ain't got the time to work with those individuals that's incarcerated, I ain't got the time to work with those young dudes that's in the streets, I ain't got the time. When you say that, you are actually saying that you don't have the time for yourself. You cannot have heaven on earth if you continue to let people who are walking around dead. Like we talked about, the graveyard has the greatest treasures. Man, it's people in the prison with treasures, right?
Yes.
It's people right now 25 years old and or 25 years or 40 years old, 50 years old. And they dead. They've been dead since they was 25. They just ain't been buried yet, but they dead. The reason why they dead is because they haven't had the information to change the direction. So when you get in touch with somebody, it don't even have to be me. But when you do get in touch with somebody, you push it. You push it. That means that you, man, my dude, and I'm going to close it with this. I'm dead serious. This is how real it is. My God, he says, he hears me out. He says, Carlos, this is out the greatest responsibility, right? He's like, Los, man, hey, man, I want, he bought the book and he said, man, this stuff is dope, man. This is next level. It's teaching them how to establish a strong relationship with your children, right? He's like, man, that's next level. He's like, Los, man, I'm gonna give you $500, man. I want $500 worth of books to go inside of the prisons, man. Can you do that? I said, man, hey, man, go ahead and donate the $500. I'm gonna go ahead and get the books inside of the prison. I contact my connection. The regional director says, man, I'm going to go ahead and spread the books out to the prisons that you want them to be spread out to. Game time. So now what people can do, because they like, man, hey, what can I do? Man, go ahead and donate the money to purchase books, and I can spread books out throughout the prisons. When people pick up the books, it changes the direction.
Yeah.
It changed their direction, because now when they start to read, because the 13th Amendment is in this book, right? 3109.042 Ohio Revised Code is in this book. Brother, you better get you a shared parenting plan. This is how you get that done. Brother, this is how you establish your credit. That's in this book. This is how you purchase a home. That's in this book. This is how you look at employment, good brother. Like, this is in this book. You spread that stuff out through the prisons. So it's stuff like that's, man, I'm telling you, man, God gave us everything that we need to get it. We don't need nothing else. Everybody wishing for somebody else to do. You don't have to wish. You got what you need. When you wake up in the morning, understand you got everything that you need. It's just about you understanding that you got what you need so you can utilize it, or else you're gonna squander what you got until you find yourself in a depressed state because you're not utilizing what you got, what you've been given. God has given us everything to solve every problem down here on the earth, because the problems down here on the earth is problems that we created. Nobody else created these problems. Us as human beings created the problem. Yeah. Then that means that us as human beings has got to be the solution. So when you hear a program like Starts Within, it's like, man, how do I get involved? Man, I'm a specialist in business management. I can teach that. Well, come on, let's go ahead and teach it. You can go ahead and cut the budget. Go ahead and teach it, right?
Yeah.
Like, teach it. Man, let me go ahead, man, offer money to go ahead and continue to fund it. Man, that's what it is, man. Like, man, this is a 3-hour long interview. Like, have we done this?
We went beyond the time we set out for, man. But it's all good, because at the end of it, it's gonna benefit people. People have been staying with us. Like, we ain't got nobody watching, so people have stuck with us. So it listen, the time doesn't matter. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter how many people we did have. It's about the impact. And I think the fact, the reality is people can relate to you. People appreciate you investing your time into sharing your story and it helping us. I really do believe once we get off of this, I know there'll be stories. I know there'll be feedback. I know there'll definitely be feedback coming my way about how good this was, and not being good entertaining, but good that they could take this knowledge and information and actually apply it to their loved ones. Because like I said, we all know someone. We all know someone that's either not incarcerated, that's out here still playing around with their life, or we all know someone that's still incarcerated. And maybe they got a few years left, maybe they got some time to change, whatever have you. We all know someone, either side, both of them can change. And both of them can take value in what you said tonight. So Carlos Christian is on Facebook. You didn't get to tell people where they can find you at. You on Facebook. You have your website.
Yeah. Facebook, yeah. So you can see me on Facebook, Carlos Christian, and on Instagram, Carlos M Christian, M as in Marcellus, like Carlos M Christian. And the website startswithin.com. Like you can find your shirts because you was probably trying to figure out, like, man, hey, I'm in Colorado and I need to get one of them shirts, right? I need to get one of them because that image is just so powerful. And that's actually me on this left-hand side. That's me evolving into the guy on the right-hand side. So that's what you got in the story, right?
Wow.
So, and that's my actual number that I did 10 years on, the 355. 519. So then that's the actual number I did 10 years on. So that's how real the story is, right? And on the back of the shirt, it's the slogan of the organization. Before change can be seen externally, change must be done internally, starts within. So you can go on the website and you can purchase you one of those shirts. They are in all different types of colors. You see, I'm in the Cleveland Browns, so I got my brown shirt. This is the other version, right? This is the fight to eat and you will starve. Fight to feed and you will never go hungry. That's that shirt, right? So you could go on the website and you can go ahead and pick your color, pick your size, and I will get that out to the mail to you immediately so you can represent the Starts Within organization. And it is in dry fit too. The material, it'll just lay on your body. I guarantee it, right? You go be like, man, this material just laying on my doggone body like that. I'm telling you, like good material, good quality, real message. I tell people, if you got to wear a shirt, man, why not wear this? Because you ain't going out there without no shirt on. If you're going to wear a shirt, man, go ahead and wear one for each day of the week, right? I got them in all different types of colors. So go ahead and order you 5, 6, 7 of them or whatever may be the case. All different colors, all different styles. Man, we got them to go. So it's on the website, though, startswithin.com.
I appreciate it. Well, listen, Carlos, before you leave, I want to tease tomorrow's show. Tomorrow, y'all, it is the last show of the week. 6 shows? Yes, 6 shows. I'm not doing nothing on Sunday because I did this in May. And I said it last night. I'm not saying this with asking for people's pity, but it is very taxing on the mind to talk about the mind and the issues that affect the mind. But I appreciate it. I take it with a badge of honor to be given this vision. And for the people who came along and said yes, and every night have poured into these conversation pieces. So, Carlos, I first say thank you for taking up your time. And thank you for answering your text messages and never letting me, offer like you just never ignoring me. You might have felt like it was ignoring, but I'm going to get an answer from you. I appreciate it.
No. Like, I kid you not, man. Like, because I talk in a lot of different places and it's like a lot of stuff going on. So when people tell me about stuff, I be wanting to do it, right? But it just be other stuff that be coming, that be like, I'll be pulled in all types of different directions. And, so sometimes when I don't get back like as that fast is because it's like other stuff that I'm trying to juggle as well, but I'm digging the movement. And it's just be difficult for me to be like, no. I'll be like, man, come on, like, let's go. Because I want to do it all. I want to do whatever I can. So I just like push it to the limit. And that's what you get out of me is me pushing it to the limit. So when I wasn't like, so when it was like, man, hey, brother, hey, it's Friday. You said you'd go get back to me. I literally was on to something else. And I'm like, okay, dang. Like, man, I got you. Like, but that's why I say, but you was just so persistent. And when it's like that, I have no choice but to honor and be obedient. So I was just obedient, man. You
I
know,
appreciate it. I do. I
I
really
was just
do.
obedient. Like I was just obedient, man. Like so it's something you got going on that, causes, a brother to respond, like period point blank. I mean, if you got the spirit in you, you have no choice but to respond. So then that's why you got me on here right now, because what you doing is because a lot of times, man, people be doing different stuff, man, and it's trying to figure out ways, like I mean, so many people is looking for ways to make money, man, and they be trying to get me involved. Like, come on, they trying to, utilize me to make money.
Yeah.
And
Exploit. Let's go with it. Exploit your story for their
right,
own.
absolutely right. So then that's why I just be like, man, like because my whole thing, and I'll let them do that if it's like if it accomplishes the mission, but that's why, it's just people be more focused on making money than making an impact. And if we make an impact, man, money is going to be there. Money will chase you, and
Yeah.
people don't understand that. So if you focus on making an impact, guess what? You ain't got to worry about nothing else. That's why I say if you focus on feeding, you always going to be fed, right? You focus on feeding, but people have it mixed up. So I just appreciate, man, your obedience and your persistence and your belief in the community being able to become better, right? That's what it takes, is a belief that you think that the community can become better and you are putting in the work. Some
I know
people
you told me, he was like, we gotta get you out of that 9 to 5. Man, I felt that today.
No doubt. I can tell what you believe by what you do. Like I could tell what you believe by what you do. So when you are doing this on top of the 9 to 5, it's because you believe it. So keep on doing it, my good.
Listen, I gotta be at work back here at the hotel tomorrow, 6 to 2 in the morning, 6 a.m. in the morning. I gotta be up here, and I just worked the 9 to 5:30. Came right here, right on. So I'm gonna let people know tomorrow. It is the last show. It's probably to me one of the hardest shows for me to ever do because it's about suicide. And anybody that's been following me for the last, I don't know, 4 years. The last 4 years, I've been open about sharing my story about dealing with suicide ideation. So tomorrow we have Queen Cookie, who's from the Toledo area. She's going to be sharing her story about her grandson who died by suicide. And so I met her back in November, and her character is wonderful, love her spirit. But she's one that's just like me, is such an advocate about mental health, and more so an advocate about suicide prevention. Next month, I haven't plugged this in the entire week, but I'm going to plug it tonight just because tomorrow's the last night. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And every year I do something to educate people. I put out training in cooperation with other organizations that are already doing this. And actually right now, I think tomorrow I'll be able to announce it again. But I have connected with an organization that I'm a board member of, that it's a 2-day extensive suicide prevention training that we're about to let people in our county. Anybody that wants to, anybody that's willing to drive to Elyria, do it for free. Okay,
Wow.
a 2-day, it's like a 2-day, 8-hour training for free. I took this training back in November, and it cost, I want to say, at least between like $30-$40 for a 2-day training for 8 hours a day. $16 to put it in, but don't think about the hours you put it in. Think about the life that you can save. And when I took the training, I'm like, man, where was this training at when I was thinking about killing myself? I thought about doing that when I was 13, 18 years old. Again at 25, and a year ago this month was the last time I thought about taking my own life. So that's what I spend my whole life doing, is helping people know that there's purpose in your life, and that you don't have to whatever circumstance in your life cause you to think that that's the best route. So tomorrow we back here the last night, 6 o'clock. Anybody that's never caught or haven't seen any other previous shows, even from May, you can watch it on the K to Co company page. If you're not a friend, follow it, like it, do all of that, share it. But also at the end of the day, I just want you to get connected with Carlos Christian. So on that note, thank you everyone. Be blessed. Be loved. See y'all tomorrow. Carlos, you stay.
Absolutely. And support the good sister, man. Support the good sister. Support the good sister. All right, absolutely. Appreciate you.
No problem. Oh, well, where'd it go?